Good Friday morning to you. Welcome into McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell alongside John Saybear here with you. Gonna switch it up a little bit, have a little fun, get a little bit of the best of as the guys enjoy some little time off. Cole getting ready for a flight to head to the state of Texas as he's getting ready for the UFL tomorrow. He'll be on the call for the Arlington Renegades. He'll be on the sidelines there. G-Mac enjoying some time off today. But we have a chance to kind of just sit back. Well, of course, we'll take your text messages, your phone calls, 205-834-9450. But earlier this week, just in case you didn't get a chance to hear, the guys had Coach Hugh Freeze on for the Auburn Tigers, and he kind of, gave the outlook on the spring and just kind of his thoughts on how everything went in the spring. Of course, discussing Jackson Arnold, their quarterback, transferring in from Oklahoma, how he looked during the spring as well. So we'll get things started off with the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, with the guys, Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tiger head coach, with the guys earlier this week, and it sounded like this.
Coach, first start off with the format, just kind of where you were with making that decision. We know spring games are changing across the landscape of college football. What exactly did you want to put together and get out of it, and how did you get to that decision?
Yeah, really, it's Cole and Greg. Thanks for having me first, and it's always good to be with you guys. But really, it's you get to this point, and you want to have a day where your young guys get most of the reps, but you get out of it healthy. And so it really wasn't much of a format. It was a normal practice. We had some Skelly move the ball, fringe periods, and then our young guys did some scrimmaging, about 20 plays, and then we went a little red zone lockout, good on good, to end it, and that was live. So that was some good work. But really, it was more of I wanted it to be a fan day for us, for our guys. It was a beautiful day in Jordan-Hare. Our fans showed up, and then after the practice, we got to visit with our fans there on the field for a couple hours. So it was a neat day.
Coach, what would you say going into this spring? What was the number one priority for you in trying to make sure that you guys made advancements in that area over the last 15 practices?
No question. Offensively, we harped on red zone scoring and obviously protecting the football. I think the most important thing about football practice, and this is the hardest thing for sometimes, defensive coaches, DJ's doing a great job there. The most important thing is that your quarterback is confident. And so, that was a big priority for me is, restoring, confidence in Jackson and start building it with Deuce. It was good just to have those two here. They got a ton of reps. And but the emphasis was on, defensively, it was on critical downs. We were really good last year in a lot of areas on both sides, but the ones that failed us, that cost us from winning some games, were the turnovers and critical downs and red zone performance.
Hugh Freeze, Auburn head football coach, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I'm interested in your approach with Jackson. You got to know him a little bit in the recruiting process, obviously. Watched some film with him, talked to him, got to know a little bit of his personality. But once you got him on the field and then got him watching his own film that you had been coaching him on in your system, how did you alter your approach once practice got going? What were some of the coaching points that you sort of changed and wanted to try to emphasize with him through spring ball?
Yeah, the biggest thing was he already, was in a system that is very similar, and as far as the fundamentals of the mechanics of the quarterback position. So it wasn't the man, and I loved all of his mechanical stuff. Kent is very good at helping with that, but truthfully, when I watched the film, I was like, Kent, I don't want to change anything with this kid on the way he handles the ball, his fundamentals. The thing we've got to do is get him confident to be the leader of our team, and that's what we need to work on the most, is what does he feel comfortable with, and helping him obviously with his progressions and things. But what I found out, Cole, when we started is Jackson wants to be coached hard, and he's hard on himself, and probably a little bit too hard on himself. Needs to restore that swagger that he had, being the Gatorade Player of the Year. And I think we saw that this spring. He started having swagger about him and confident that he is one of the elite players in the country.
Well, he's always had the talent, but you referenced the confidence and not allowing one bad play to materialize into two, and not being gun shy and not being afraid to make a mistake. I feel like it's a very delicate thing to deal with, Coach, and I really don't know how you do it. But in your experience, how easy is it to get a guy to believe in himself yet again?
That's the difficult thing, Greg. I don't know that there's I think everyone is different. But he has shown me this spring he has the capacity to make every throw. He has the mental IQ to be a really good field general at the quarterback position. So he has the tools and he has the legs to extend plays. So now it's about, man, you have the giftings. So now be confident in the plan and who you are. And I think it will be very, very vital that we formulate a plan, going into the early games like Baylor and who we play early, that he is so comfortable with. Matter of fact, I'm truthfully starting this week to go on and have a plan kind of in place for game one for him. And so that he is so confident in it. But he's got the tools, and I don't know that I can put my finger on an exact formula to regain confidence without success, truthfully. And so I think it's going to have to come, as the season comes, and hopefully the switch is flipped. I've seen it. He's very confident right now, and we just got to maintain that.
Hugh Freeze, head football coach for the Auburn Tigers, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Coach, he's got a good cast around him, offensive line, got some veterans, has a chance to take a big step this year. We know the talent at that wide receiver core. What places, what spots on that offense did you walk away from the spring feeling more confident in?
Yeah, I think we obviously have the most complete offense by position since we've been there, since we've been here. But through recruiting, I think our wide receiver room is elite. Our offensive line room should be very, very solid. We obviously Connor Liu, and we didn't have him this spring, nor X. Who we got from the portal, and they both had surgeries, but that's another reason I think spring practice should be pushed till June. I keep beating that drum, but I think we're, offensively we've got the pieces there, and that's another thing. Back to the other point on the quarterback play is, I don't think we have to have a guy just that has to do everything. Just make the plays that are there. And I think we're good enough at the positions at running back, O-line, and receiver to make plays for him, around him. So I'm kind of confident in our depth on offense, and obviously we've still got to be effective in running the ball that we've been. And losing Jarquez is a hit, but love what I saw from Damari and Jeremiah in spring.
Well, you talked about the receiver position, and I think all of us think it could be one of the most improved position groups in the sport. And I loved Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think everybody did. He was extremely productive for you guys. But with the addition of Eric Singleton, with the continued development of Cam Coleman and Perry, the other quality weapons that you have that from a depth standpoint that you can use in a bunch of different ways, how much better will that group be collectively when you guys tee it up in the fall?
Yeah, I think, obviously Keandre Lambert-Smith was, I thought, really, really special. And we've got to replace that. But this spring, I tell you, Greg, Eric Singleton can do so many things. And the things we used to do at Ole Miss and other places, I think he gives us the flexibility to do some of those things. Obviously, having Cam out there and Perry and Malcolm, I think, we've got to obviously keep those guys healthy, but those guys can make plays, and they did it all spring long, the 50-50 balls. And I tell you, one to watch for is Horatio Fields. He really had a phenomenal spring also. And so I'm excited about Sam Turner too, the freshman. So I think that room is elite, and Malcolm and Cam and Perry continue to improve their learning IQ of the game and how to run routes. And so I thought the rapport with them and Jackson and Deuce was really came along really nicely this spring, and that room's going to have to be special for us.
Coach, one thing that I think people sort of bypass with players coming out of the portal, like you mentioned Eric Singleton, we know physically what he's capable of doing. We've seen him, carry the football, catch the football, how he can run. Last year, I got word that you got great leadership out of the portal. Guys like Jaron Thompson at safety and what he added vocally, accountability-wise. A couple of the receivers you brought in, sort of the same thing. Robert Smith, Keandre Lambert-Smith, what those guys just brought from a leadership mentality and maybe behavioral standpoint. Are there guys that you need that out of again this year? Is that something that's going to become more important through the portal year after year?
Yeah, I think it's important that if you go to the portal, you get guys that fit your culture and are going to help drive it for sure, the standards. We're fortunate now I have, guys that have been with me a couple of years that I think, can have the capacity to do that. So, you think of a Keldrick Falk right now, there's no question he is the voice of the defense. He's been with us 2 seasons. He's been in our culture, and he's on our culture council. And so you've got him and Robert Woodyard over there that have been there with us. And so it's not like I have to have that from the portal, but when you do go to the portal, you sure hope. We did need some of that last year, but I don't know that that's a need we have, but you sure don't want to subtract from it. So
right.
If you go and add to it, you just want to make sure that the fit is right. Offensively, our O-line is, Connor Lew and Jeremiah, and D Wade have taken the leadership role there. And Damari is an incredible leader from the running back position. And Horatio, speaking of portal guys, he's kind of come in and he's kind of the father figure, older guy in that receiver room that's kind of driving that standard. Not that the others are not wanting to, like Cam, they are. They're but he's that older guy that's been through the battles that has kind of taken Keandre's place in the voice in that room also.
Coach, with everything that's gone on the last 3 or 4 days, with players entering the portal 2 days before their spring game, and we're not going to go into the specifics on the situation at Tennessee. I know you're, of course, aware of it. But I'm just curious from your vantage point, you're trying to make sure that you have guys that are all in. You're trying to make sure that you have guys that are all rowing in the same direction. And I know that that's difficult nowadays. I understand the realities of the situation. But how would you handle, and how have you handled, guys that approach you that are unhappy with their deal prior to going into a pivotal moment or before a portal opens? Like, how have you handled it? What's your philosophy on it?
Yeah, it's I think every case is a different case, and I don't think there's one cookie cutter answer. I think everyone is different, and you have to, manage the value that they bring to the team with what they're obviously envisioning themselves. Truthfully, I've tried to stay out of most of the monetary discussions. I let our general manager do that, and he'll come to me and I try to get them to work it out because, man, I found that I want to have a pure, genuine relationship with a player and be able to coach him. And that's been the hardest thing for me, is that if I get too deep in those discussions, I start viewing it differently, and I don't want to view it differently. But obviously I have to get in the ones where they want to go in the portal, and, we talk through it with them. Obviously, if it's, there's only so many things we can do at this point. If it's solely driven by a financial deal, then I probably need to let them go. And if it's not, then we want to try to work it out. But you again have to look at your depth chart. Everybody does. It's real. This is real life now. And man, it may be better for them to move on. And then others, you're going to fight like heck to prove to them this is the right place and the right fit. But at the end of the day, if it comes down just to, I'm getting more money over here somewhere, then we're probably not going to way. And I hate that. I do. And I wish, like heck, we could get some structure around this sooner than later. Hopefully this settlement will go through and, man, we can get some contracts that have to be honored. And for the life of me and the other coaches, we're not real sure. We beg for, why can't we just have an agreement among the power forward ADs that, look, if a kid leaves while under contract, you guys have got to, pay back the value of that contract. And that would stop some of this, because I don't know that we can sustain what we're doing now, nor is it healthy for anyone in the sport to continue doing what we're doing.
No doubt, Coach. It's complicated. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And there's obviously a lot to it. We appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us, and look forward to having you back again soon.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
I think that's some good news. What you got on a couple of individual guys, a couple of guys maybe that we have not brought up and discussed a lot. We'll continue that conversation next on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Welcome back into McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Sabear holding things down for you as the guys take a little bit of time off. Cole heading to Arlington as he gets ready for the UFL. Greg, enjoying an off day on this good Friday. Hope you and your family are doing well this Easter weekend. As we all know, the spring weather in Alabama can be really unpredictable. That's why you need the reliability of a Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now you can receive up a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Train home comfort system. Found out more at Train.com. First segment, we got a chance to hear from the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, Hugh Freeze. Then we get a chance to hear the remarks and reaction from the guys on the other side right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Takeaway for me there, Greg, may be Horatio Fields, a name that he threw out for us. I don't think that's the name that a lot of people go to when they're talking about Auburn skill position players. That could be a guy that maybe extends a little bit or does a little bit that people don't feel like some of the other receivers are going to do inside this offense. And he could be a guy all of a sudden that shows up and gives you even more on that offense.
Well, they went and got him for a reason. I don't think they got him just for depth. You know what I mean? I think that there's all likelihood he's probably going to have a pretty pivotal role. And guess what? It's going to be tough to spread the ball around. They have so many good weapons. It's a great situation to be in if you're Auburn.
He's a little bit of a bigger target that you get from Wake Forest, 6'3", 205. So bigger, more physical wide receiver that you bring in. And Malcolm Simmons apparently had a good day. We know what Cam Coleman's capable of. We know what Perry Thompson's capable of. You've got Bryce Kane. And then he kind of mentioned him, Greg. Eric Singleton, sort of the Swiss Army knife of this offense now, can carry the ball. You can get him in the backfield, throw it to him out of the backfield. He's a good enough receiver to have routes go deep down the field, kind of take the top off. He can just change so much of what this offense is. And honestly, just make Jackson Arnold's life so much easier with some of the high percentage throws, handoffs, push passes that he's going to be able to give him.
Yeah, and I would anticipate Singleton, for example, being used in 100 different ways. I mean, if I were coaching Singleton, I would do whatever it takes to try to figure out a way to get him involved. At least 10. He's like a touch guy. You know what I mean? Like I need boxes to check how many touches he gets. Like he's got to get 10 to 15 touches a game. Has to. And if I manufactured those with handoffs or quick throws behind the line of scrimmage, extended handoffs, that's all great. That's wonderful. But I would think that he's a guy that has to get touches. And I think you have a guy like Fields that could stretch the field a little bit. And then you got Cam Coleman and Perry, who I think are also excellent. You got some slot guys that can go. Like, I think they should feel really good about where they're at as far as weapons are concerned.
Talking Auburn offense here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:21 a.m. Monday, April 14th. So what does the success lean on most right now? Is it offensive line coming together and being a little bit better? Is it? I mean, it's easy to just say quarterback if he's good or bad. That's lazy. I don't want to have that conversation with you. I want to go a little further. Is it Jackson Arnold getting the ball out of his hand? Is it the offensive line being able to protect, open up in the run game? Is it one of the running backs being close to what Jarquez was when he actually got the ball last year? What's the intricate detail of this offense right now that you're looking at saying, if they get that part, if that shows up and that part is B plus A minus, then this offense could be what a lot of people think it can be? Because you brought it up, in my opinion, Greg, and it's confidence. It's quarterback confidence.
Yeah, I think quarterback confidence is huge. I think quarterback's the key. I mean, like in this offense, I think they're still going to be able to run the ball well. I love their weapons. I think the offensive line has a chance to be pretty good. I know we might not get the best look at that right now with some of the absences this spring, but I'm not concerned about the O-line. Like the O-line, I think once you got left tackle fixed last year was not really an issue. It was fine. I think quarterback's the big question marks. I think, and I know that this is an unpopular take, I think their quarterback play last year was remarkably underrated. You're going to sit there and say, well, Peyton Thorne, what are you talking about? He turned the ball over like crazy. I agree. There were a couple games. There were a couple games in which he did not take care of the football. I understand that. And I can completely understand your sentiment towards him with how he played in those games. But holistically, throughout a 12-game season, I don't think it was anywhere near as bad as people like to make it out to be. I really don't see it that way. I think he did some decent things at times. And while, yes, I hated the performance in the Cal game, I don't think all the interceptions were on him. Yes, do I think he should have been benched the following week? No, I don't. Do I think he should have gotten the start against Arkansas? Yes. I think if he started against Arkansas, you probably had a pretty decent chance to win the game. Like, I think all those things can be true. So I think what they had last year at quarterback was fine. I also don't think that it's going to be hard for Jackson Arnold to be as good as Peyton Thorne was. But like the same conversation we had about Nico, I think Jackson Arnold's ceiling is higher.
Right.
Which is super encouraging. But I think those that look at this say, oh, it's an automatic upgrade at quarterback. I'm not willing to go that far just yet because I think Peyton Thorne was better than you realize. And I also think that the confidence thing is a powerful thing for sure.
If there was one question I wanted to get to with Coach Freeze that we didn't, and maybe I can remember to ask him this the next time we have him on. How do you find that, Greg?
Confidence?
And I don't know when you either had less of it, more of it during different times in your career, but let's go to the times that you don't feel like you had a ton of it and the times that maybe it dipped a little bit. How could a coach get it back without playing in games, mind you? Because, yeah, you can go out there and win games, and, of course, everybody's confidence is going up. That's no problem. Before you get to that point, though, how does Hugh Freeze get the confidence back from Jackson Arnold?
Well, I didn't grow up in an era in which people cared about your feelings. So, like, I mean, I hate to break it to you. Let me tell you what Nick Saban wasn't worried about is making me feel good about myself. Ever. Like, it was not a thing that mattered to him. You figure it out. Like, man up, figure it out. And there were times we won games and I didn't have confidence. Like, I remember having a 2 or 3 game stretch in 2009 that just didn't play very well. Didn't see the field very well. Defenses were making big adjustments. What we practiced all week was very different from what we saw on game day. And I did not know how to hit the curveball at that point. I had started 4 games. You know what I mean? Once you start those first 4 games, hey, defense is running what we did in practice. This is great. And then all of a sudden you have to face, Monty Kiffin. And you're like, God, this is different. Where's the Tampa 2? Like, that's what we practiced. Why are they blitzing the strong safety? They never did that.
Right.
Then we had to play, Ellis Johnson and Steve Spurrier at South Carolina. And they're all of a sudden selling out against the pass with Stephon Gilmore. I'm like, well, why are they? No, you're supposed to have to run. Like, I'm supposed to have good looks. Like, I'm supposed to have one-on-ones. Like, why are we doing roll late, cover 2 quarters, rolls late? Like, what happened to that? That's not what we practiced.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like freaking out. And it took me 2 or 3 games to get over it. And then we played against Kentucky at one point. Kentucky, the wind was blowing 45 miles an hour. It's like, I'm throwing it as hard as I can. It's not getting where it needs to go. Then you play Greg Hardy in Ole Miss. And he takes my head off on the first play of the game. And it's like, who's that guy? You know what I mean? And then, so there's like a 2 or 3 game stretch there where I'm like, golly, I'm not seeing the field very well. I got to play faster. Then the bye week happened. And I was able to focus on myself and kind of get back to just, all right, don't worry about what you're playing against, worry about you. And that was the greatest thing ever, to have that week to just focus on me, focus on my processes. And from that point forward, played really well. But I needed a bye week to get out of it, man. It's hard as a young guy, especially with all the weight of the world and the expectations on your shoulders to try to figure it out. It's not easy at all.
No. And sometimes it takes time to find that confidence. Sometimes that confidence is not easily found and not easily brought back. And obviously the game, playing in it, being successful in it, actual game is what's going to be easiest to bring that to you and to get it from. But it's you got to find ways to get a little bit before it actually happens at the same time. So we'll see if Jackson Arnold's confidence gets there. I mean, I think, I would say letting go of the football, but I think the confidence is what actually allows that to take place. It's big. And I'm glad Coach Freeze brought it up because it's a point of emphasis that I wanted to talk about, that I think we need to talk about, that is going to be very real with what kind of player he can be this upcoming season.
Got a chance to hear from the guys as they recap and react to what they heard from head coach Hugh Freeze and taking a peek at the Auburn Tigers this fall. In return, here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, we'll take a look at the other side of the state as the Alabama spring wrapped up and kind of just see what the landscape of the Crimson Tide will look like this fall. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:34 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saber holding things down for you as we host a little bit of a best of. You had a chance to hear from the Auburn side of things as they wrap up spring from head coach Hugh Freeze. Also get the guys' take on what they expect to see from the Tigers in the fall. Let's flip it over to the other side as the Alabama Crimson Tide enter year 2 of Kalen DeBoer and just kind of get the guys' thoughts on how the spring as a whole has gone there on the capstone. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
Normally we'd be rewinding, going back, watching some of these spring games just to look at a guy or two to see if he thought he was going to make a difference, and not really able to do a lot of that this year.
No, it really is strange. Kind of feeling that weird urge to turn on the TV and have some football on, just kind of in the background. It's just hasn't materialized. Like I usually have the spring games rolling all throughout April and May, just nonstop, one after another, and just not having them. It's been odd, but it is kind of a sign of the times. It is what it is, and it's unfortunate, but I understand why these coaches have decided not to do it. Kinda.
And that is
scared
of getting guys hurt, guys leaving.
Who knows? I honestly think the guys just don't want to play. Maybe that's just being too pessimistic.
What are they? What they're going to? They just want to practice instead. There's no different in practice. I'd rather play a spring game than practice.
But when you get paid to play, and all of a sudden you're expected to play for quote free, it's hard.
I don't understand what's so hard about it. You play football. That's what you do.
Well, answer me this: how many starters like playing reps in the preseason in the NFL?
Not many.
Not many, if any.
A lot of those guys, though, have been on those teams inside that franchise for multiple years.
A lot of these guys think that they're better than the guys on those franchises.
That's also fair.
I'm not saying it's a logical thought. I'm just saying I don't think the guys want to play.
Okay. We will talk a little bit
contract for 12 games.
Well, and it looks like now that South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez is going to be the target of North Carolina. So Nico Iamaleava not going to end up there. We'll talk a little more, Nico. You have an interesting thought on where Nico Iamaleava may or may not end up. And we'll get to that a little bit later this hour. I want to switch gears, though. We finally got to hear from some Alabama coaches post-spring yesterday. And offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who's new in town, as most of you know, we've discussed him on the show multiple times, had this to say about where the quarterback competition is in Tuscaloosa.
At the end of the day, if we're playing a football game tomorrow, Ty Simpson would start, and he earned that. Okay, and I know that's the line everybody's looking for, but that is what he earned. Austin Mack made huge strides. Also, available reps were the same, and he did a really good job. He came out and developed. Just was some of the nuances and take care of the football and things like that. Thought Ty showed out a little bit better. And then, honestly, Keelan exceeded my expectations. I think for a young man his age, he never gave in to that opportunity. We challenged him with that. Don't give into I'm a freshman and this and that. And he didn't. He reminds me, I say this all the time to him, and I mean it as the biggest compliment. He reminds me so much of Michael Penix, just in his demeanor. He has such a calm demeanor. Sometimes, you need to find the other edge of that and put a little bit of rush on it. But he did a great job, and he had a couple days at the end that, he wished he had played a little bit better. But, man, I thought he made huge strides.
Oh, boy. Let the hype begin, Greg.
I thought I was getting ripped for saying exactly what he said like 2 weeks ago.
You were.
Imagine that.
Looks like Mike Penix improved the most in the spring. So get ready for that hype train. Sounds like it's coming.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what was said there. The guy's got the most talent. I literally don't think there's any question about that. The guy's got unbelievable arm talent. Is very well liked by the staff. Was handpicked by the staff and made a huge priority on the staff. So I'm not sure why this is such earth-shattering, groundbreaking news. Like what was learned by that commentary?
I don't think it's news. I just think people want it. You said this before. People want to believe that the high-profile recruit, the high-profile athlete, is just going to be next and be next up. So they'll root for it, even though he may not be the best guy for the job at that time. And when that's the case, then you take things like that and you say, oh, okay, well then he is going to be the guy. I want him to be the guy. So you take that information and you utilize it and make yourself believe that he's going to win the job. But you're right. I mean, he's a big physical kid with a massive arm, played high-level high school football in Texas, a track star, legit track guy in Texas. So there's a lot of things to like, but managing an offense versus live SEC defenses is something that's going to be difficult. Back to what he said about Ty Simpson, though. And is that something that gives you more confidence, more comfort of hearing Ryan Grubb come out and say that, especially saying, hey, that's what y'all are looking for, so here it is?
Hopefully it gives him confidence. I could care less how it affects me. Me, it doesn't have any impact on. The fan, Johnny Fan, doesn't affect him. Doesn't affect Cole Cubelic or John Saber. Doesn't matter. The only person that should affect from a confidence standpoint is Ty Simpson. That, hey, you perform the best in the spring. It's your job to lose. It's been your job to lose. Now go out there and secure hold of it. I mean, if you want to be the starter, go take it. Like, quit messing around. Quit twiddling your thumbs. Go take it. Like, when I was up for a quarterback competition, Star Jackson never got a single number one rep. Why? Because on day one, I went out there and took it. Day two, took it. Took it again on day three. And then when AJ arrived, he didn't even get a number two rep because guess what? Star took it. Like, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was, to me, like, you go out and take it. You don't open the door to extend this competition. I understand there's going to be some aspects of the court of public opinion that you got to kind of maneuver through because of the transfer portal, but like, go out and take it. I think that's the key for Ty. Believe you can do it, you can go out and do it. Simple as that.
Yeah. So the Alabama quarterback situation looks like it is at least calming down a bit. But of course, it will go through the fall and there will be more opportunities there. But now you solidify, for the most part, who your guy is going into the summer. And a lot can happen in the summer, Greg. And you want your quarterback to go out there with that confidence that you just stated, because now they can essentially go practice during the summer. And you want him to be able to lead that the way that you know that he can, and then continue to let him solidify himself as your starting quarterback.
Well, and I also think, too, when you look at the quarterback situation, I get why, if you have a guy that has as much of an upside as Keelan Russell, I understand why people are going to be enamored with that. Okay, I get that. But hear me out when I say this. If you want Keelan to be your starting quarterback, you need to lower your expectations on what the team can accomplish this year. If you want the team to go win a national championship, in all likelihood, and I'm not saying that Keelan can't be the anomaly here. He could. There's always the anomaly. Trevor Lawrence was the anomaly. Holloway in 1985 was the anomaly. But guess what? There's 40 more years that you have to account for in which a true freshman starting quarterback did not win a national championship. So if you want to go with the law of averages, there's a whole lot more redshirt juniors, redshirt sophomores, true juniors, true seniors that went on to win a championship in the starting quarterback spot. So just based on the law of averages, if you want your team being Alabama, to win a national championship this year, you probably don't need to be rooting for the true freshman to win the starting job. You can root for the true freshman to have a role. Like in 2006, when Chris Leak was the starting quarterback and Tim Tebow had a role. You can root for that.
Yeah.
Got no problem with that whatsoever. But I think expecting Keelan to be the starting quarterback day one is probably not in the best interest of the team's full expectations of trying to compete for a title.
More McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Up after this. Welcome back into McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Taking a look at the Alabama Crimson Tide spring. Get a more recap of somebody that was there with boots on the ground. That would be one Tyler Watts as he discusses the Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback position and much more right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
From your observation, how would you say the spring went for Kalen DeBoer in year two?
I think they're excited just about the progress of having the first year under their belt and getting all the unknowns behind them. Everybody's on the same page now. They understand exactly what's expected, verbiage, language, expectations, all of that. I think, there's always a learning curve with just feeling comfortable. And sometimes it takes a year of courtship, so to speak, to kind of really get comfortable. But I think that there's a ton of enthusiasm down at practice throughout the course of spring. A lot of jawing going on, which is healthy for your team. A lot of competition going on out there on the field. And I think the coaches are excited about what they have to work with this year.
Tyler Watts joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline discussing Alabama's Spring Festival on Saturday. It was more of a practice than a game. So you weren't able to see things the way that you normally would like to, but you did get a chance to have meaningful conversations. Let's just start on offense. From guys on that side of the football that you heard from, were there things that surprised you in a positive way that maybe they felt confident about, or different guys that had exceeded expectations? What did you walk away from based on some of those conversations on the Alabama offensive side of things that you were like, okay, great, that's maybe better than I expected it to be?
Well, it wasn't so much as what they were unveiling to us is from a competition standpoint or performance standpoint of the guys. They're just excited about what they have to work with and the buy-in I think that they're getting from the players. I know that Coach Shepard and the wide receivers are extremely high on their talent level and what they can do. I know that they had a couple of really nice plays. Isaiah Horton, the big transfer, came in. I think he had one pass where he had two defensive backs. It was a jump ball, but he's 6'4". He went up and got it, ran it in for a touchdown. So they're excited kind of about just the different things that they have. We didn't see Ryan Williams. He didn't play. We didn't see a couple of guys in the secondary, Keon Sabb and Damani Jackson, but the coaches know what they have with those guys. It was an opportunity for some of the younger people who have kind of been sitting in the shadows the last couple of years to have a chance to really to show what they could do on Saturday. But, the wide receivers are excited. I think the DBs are excited as well. Jason Jones comes in first year. I played with him. He's a great guy. He's excited just about the length and the experience that some of those young guys were able to get under their belts last season. So it's what you expect. It's optimism all the way around. But I think that they really are fired up about getting some new blood in there, some of the younger fellas who don't know anything other than what they're learning right now. And, they're anticipating a good solid year.
What do you think is the number one priority for what they're trying to do on defense? I mean, so much of the conversation is centered around the quarterback spot, understandably so. But I do think defensively, they were quietly very good last year, and that was with a lot of young players in the back end. So I'm super optimistic about the secondary, but I am a little bit questionable about what we could see up front defensively, what the pass rush looks like. How did you say that group is kind of rounding into form?
It's always a concern. Of course, Freddie Roach, defensive line coach, always wants more. What defensive line coach doesn't want more numbers than what they currently have? But you got to feel good about the fact that you have LT Overton, James Smith, and Marion Latham coming back to kind of anchor that. You know what you have with Tim Keenan. So there's four guys with a ton of experience. They're really high on Bola Boomois, the Canadian that came in. He's a work in progress, but they see a ton of upside out of him. But you have to have a couple other guys who they've been trying to develop, which is getting more and more difficult to get guys to hang around long enough to be developed in your system. But Edric Hill and Jeremiah Beeman are two other fellows that they feel they really need to be able to contribute to offer some depth and some downs to give some other guys some rest. But, Coach Roach was talking about it 5-6 years ago. You had 15 guys in your room that you were constantly working, and because of everything that's going on in college football now, you're down to 10 or 12, and it just makes it a bigger challenge to where you have to stay injury-free and you have to develop guys as quickly as you can. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to limit what you're asking them to do so that you can just get them out on the field.
Tyler Watts joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline on the call for Alabama's spring game over the weekend. Edge rusher outside of maybe Quay Russaw that you heard good things about, you think could sort of step up, be able to help add some twitch, some speed off the edge?
Well, they need Keon Keeley to step up and to really be – he got some meaningful snaps last year, but it's always a work in progress. And we don't know what's going to happen, next week when the transfer portal opens back up, who becomes available, if anybody. Maybe they can add somebody there. I know that everybody's after them. But they do need a true pass rusher because right now they don't really have that threat, that Dallas Turner off of the edge that this defense has had for so many years. If you get in a third and long situation and it's game over, you're going to be getting off the field. So that's a concern. I think it is for everybody, and you have to just continue to develop your guys and hope somebody steps into that role.
Finally, Tyler, when you look at just the comfort level that Kalen's approached this offseason with, he appears much more comfortable, and look, I think if you're drinking through a fire hose last year and you inherit what it was an impossible situation, it just seems much more like himself. I know you don't know him that well, and your experience being around him dates back about a year, but have you noticed a difference in how his personality has been affected by this upcoming season?
He seems to be a little bit more at ease, if that's to say. And I know that y'all had Coach Grubb on earlier, but I think surrounding himself with people he feels really good about as far as assistance goes kind of helps him feel more at peace with what he's working with. And he's not constantly fighting we didn't do it like this in the past, questioning every decision that he makes as well. I think he's got a little bit more buy-in this year from the team so far. So guys understand what's expected of them. They feel comfortable that although it's different, it will work if we do it. And I think that's a huge hurdle to overcome. So yeah, I anticipate that he probably feels a little bit more at ease. And honestly, I think you're going to see a great improvement out of this team throughout the course of the year.
Do you expect to see a visual difference offensively with just alignment,
Yeah.
how things are called? Like, what do you expect to be? What's a difference that fans could probably notice that they'll see in the offense this year as opposed to last year?
Well, obviously, you're not going to see near as many quarterback called runs or options out of the quarterback, and that was an asset that you had last year that you had to take advantage of. You'd have been a fool not to have used Jalen Milroe and the ability that he brings with his legs. I do anticipate it looking a little bit different, but I don't see it being drastically different. I think the formations, the movement, the shifts, all that's going to remain the same. But offensively, how they attack a defense will be different. But I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from that. I think you have enough weapons. The question is, can you be strong and tough enough up front to be able to move guys around? But I think they're going to attack defenses a little differently and just try to keep doing what they do, which is what everybody does, and keep guys off balance, hit them where they're not looking, and try to take advantage.
Tyler, thanks for hopping on with us. I know it was a little bit different, a little bit weird, but you got great insight into this team and kind of how it's looking. We wanted to share that with you, and also just wanted to give you the first crack at beating out Greg to be this year's Alabama Beaver starting quarterback.
I come on the cheap. I'm a lot cheaper than him. I know that.
There we go. All right. We'll see it. Tyler, thanks, man. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, fellas. Tyler
Watts joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking Alabama football, more ways than one, more teams than one, which we did not really anticipate.
So you got a chance to hear from Tyler Watts as he was there in T-Town wrapping up the spring training for the Alabama Crimson Tide and taking a look at, both Auburn. Got a chance to hear from Hugh Freeze. Also got a chance to hear from Alabama. I think that on both sides, both fan bases should have a reason to be excited heading into the fall. I think that, with the addition of Jackson Arnold, now you don't have to see Peyton Thorne be your quarterback. But again, a lot of it is just mental for him because, of everything that happened in Oklahoma. But you do expect that things will be on the up and up as he takes the Plains over. And now we get a chance to see. And again, year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. No more Jalen Milroe. You're starting in a new quarterback, but the pieces around him should be kind of good. So we shall see what the season holds. We got a long ways to go, but we get a chance to have our number 2 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, host a little bit of the best of. We'll take a look at some other teams in the SEC who could potentially find themselves in the college football playoff discussion, and a team that may be a little interesting and we didn't really think could, especially after what happened last season. Keep it locked right here for hour number 2 on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear here with you, hosting a little bit of the best of as we take a peek back at some of the best of McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Great discussion early on to start the show off with Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze. Also just kind of breaking down what we expect to see from both sides of the state when it comes to what happened in the spring and also preparing for the fall. But listen, speaking of the spring weather in Alabama can be really unpredictable. That's why you need a reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. Find out more at Trane.com. Just give you some quick notes as well. As we found out yesterday that Auburn forward from the Final Four team, Chad Baker-Mazara, will be entering the transfer portal. And from reports, it seems like this is he's looking for a bigger paycheck. And Auburn had a number. Chad Baker-Mazara thought it was going to be a little bit more. And the two sides parted ways. So he has officially entered the transfer portal. He'll be on his 5th school. And this time next year, he'll be 26 years old. Do with that information as you please. But going back to McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, the best of, we got a chance early on this year to discuss just some teams that could be in the national championship picture. Again, it's early on. We don't know what to expect, but just taking a peek around the SEC, one school down in the swamp in Gainesville, Florida, could they be part of this discussion? We discussed this early on with the guys. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
I was going to have a surprise team, kind of an outlier team, and it was going to be Florida. And I thought you guys were all going to laugh at me. Damian actually started to ask the question, and Greg said that he was like, I might throw Florida in there, and you heard Staples as well. What a turnaround that would be. Even if they got in the mix, just made the playoff in the next 5 years.
Would it surprise you?
It wouldn't.
At all.
But just after how many people just said he's done, he can't coach, this is going to happen next week, this is going to happen the week after, and then all of a sudden he finally gets his guy quarterback, he gets a couple people around him. And now listen, it's still going to be difficult because I don't know if that roster is ready right now, even though the quarterback is going to elevate a lot of different people. But still, it feels like things are sort of heading in a direction where they might be able to be in that mix.
They have a good identity. They, I think, found something on the defensive front down the stretch. And I think now they really just need to find some difference makers at wide receiver. I think if you can find some really solid offensive linemen, you're cooking with gas. I mean, they're not that far away.
Oh, no. I definitely.
They got 2 more years with Lagway, but they're the perfect example of where I think this is going. Like, if you want to compete every year and you want to go to the portal and sell your soul, you can do that. That's fine. But I just don't think it's going to breed long-term success. I think high school recruiting, development within, sustaining players, getting young players reps, rotating a ton of guys, and then peaking every few years, that's how you're going to win championships in the modern era. I think that's where we're going.
Let's just say teams you feel good about having a real chance. So you're not predicting it. You're not guaranteeing it. You just feel good about the fact that they have an opportunity to be able to be there and get there. We said Texas from the SEC. Okay, that's one. We said Georgia from the SEC. That's 2. Who else do we feel good about possibly getting a title from the SEC in the next 5 years? Anybody else?
Alabama.
Yeah, I honestly am pretty bullish on Alabama with I like the approach to recruiting that this group is taking. They are not falling victim to feeling desperate. They are not falling victim to say, oh, we got to go get the biggest and best 5-star out of the portal. They're going and saying, we know what we need. This is what we're going to get. We are not going to overpay for a guy that could be a problem in the locker room if he doesn't get 8 looks a game. Like, I kind of like how things are happening right now for the Tide.
5-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood decommitted yesterday.
Look how many stars.
I just read the Hayes Fawcett tweets. That's literally all I do.
The starting left tackle for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish this year, Anthony Knapp, was. How would you qualify his performance this season?
Good up until the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, and when he got hurt with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, no, he was a much better player than we anticipated he would be.
Not bad for a 3-star. Starting left tackle, true freshman, 3-star.
Okay.
Oh, their starting corner, you say? The guy that filled in for Benjamin Morrison?
All right, it's two out of three, so I'm going to put Alabama on the list. I don't know if I would sit here and say I feel great about it. I have confidence in Kalen. It's just that there are a lot of things working against them right now.
It's 5 years.
Big Ten, we'll say Ohio State. You say Michigan?
Yes, I think Michigan, Ohio State,
spend all that money on one quarterback, you better be in the mix.
Fair.
Who else?
Money.
Penn State?
No.
Oregon is in.
Oregon.
That was on our list.
Yeah.
So how far away would you say Penn State is? I mean, just because we see them in there now, but within a 5-year range, you don't think James Franklin will be able to get over it?
I need to see them beat Ohio State in the regular season before I can feel.
Why?
Oh, that doesn't matter?
Not really.
Not really.
Beating good teams doesn't matter?
It's cool and it's fun and it's nice.
What?
Why you put Ohio State on this list? Why could you not say I need to see them beat Michigan in the regular season?
Fair enough, but I've seen Ohio State go toe to toe and win against the top teams in the sport, a la Oregon a week and a half ago, a la Texas 4 days ago. I have seen that happen. One I have not seen from Penn State, them going toe to toe with a team that actually matches up from a personnel standpoint with them.
So what you're saying is you're not putting Boise up there with Texas and
You know what? Take
Ohio
that back.
State this year?
Put Boise in. Boise will.
They make that jump to the Big Ten.
No, they're not going to be in the Big Ten. We talked about teams that would win it from outside the conference.
All right, so Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon. Is there a third Big Ten team that you feel good about?
No. Dude, you got to win 3 games. Look at these games now.
I'm with you. I'm thinking about how boring college football is about to be if your predictions are right. The same 6 teams in the 12-team playoff every year.
See, I kind
all
of
advancing.
But in the SEC, I think Ole Miss should be somewhere in there. Like they're probably on the outside looking in, but they're
Tell
closer.
me if you think they're going to have a team that was better than the team they had this year.
It's hard to say.
It's
yes.
hard to say.
They didn't even make the playoff. Home skillet.
But what if that Simmons kid is as good as that?
He's the real deal. I love him. I think he's better than Jackson Dart.
Whoa.
Well, that's a guy.
Hold on. More talented, maybe.
Yes.
You can't say he's better right now.
He's more talented.
I'll allow that. But we can't. Jackson Dart was a great college football player.
He was. He also lost games.
Simmons might be the reincarnation of one of the Ainge brothers.
Danny?
Eric.
Oh, gosh. If it's Danny,
is
we
there
got
another
a
one?
chance.
Got a chance.
Throwing Montana Fouts underhand fastballs out of the end zone for pick sixes. Being DDT'd into the goalpost in Baton Rouge.
If it's Eric, we got big issues. But I am optimistic if it's Danny. Simmons is the real deal, dude. I'm just telling you.
He might be, and he might be super talented, but I can't say he's better right now. Not yet.
What you tell me? His skill set or Jackson Dart's skill set. Give me Austin Simmons every day and twice on Saturday. I'm not saying
Joe Montana's skill set or Randall Cunningham's.
Randall Cunningham all day.
And Joe has the championship.
Take the Super Bowl.
If Randall Cunningham played for the Niners in the West Coast, he'd be the beast.
I don't think I can just say that.
Fair enough.
What about Pierce Clarkson?
I ain't seen the tape.
Louisville transfer headed to Ole Miss.
I hadn't seen the tape.
Why are they going to get him if
good backup
depth?
Simmons is the end all be all.
Depth.
5 Jackson Darts in 1.
Walker.
He's a Cajun now.
I'm familiar.
Got a chance to hear from the guys as they went down the list of teams that could potentially find themselves with a national championship contenders in the college football playoff. We get a chance to hear from our friend Pat Dooley if you missed his interview earlier this week and kind of just set the scene for the Florida Gators down there in Gainesville. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Welcome back into McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saber holding down the fort here with some of the best of from McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. The guys out for today enjoying their Good Friday. Well, Cole's in the air heading to Texas as he has the UFL game this weekend. Of course, our Birmingham Stallions will hit the field tomorrow night as they take on the Houston Roughnecks. Birmingham looking to win their third straight ball game, and Houston just stands in the way. It's not the Houston Gamblers, so it's not necessarily the old USFL rivalry that they forced up on us, but it's still an opponent nonetheless. So giddy up there. Taking a continue look at the college football landscape of things. Got a chance to hear from Pat Dooley early this week as he broke down what he saw from the spring game, the actual spring football game from the Florida Gators. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
Pat, spring game over the weekend, 50+ thousand. Good attendance. Sounded like there's a lot for fans to be excited about. None of us saw it if we weren't there. What were the takeaways?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they brought the basketball team in to get the crowd up. I mean, that was a pretty smart move on their part to have the celebration for the basketball team. Because otherwise, what were they selling? They were selling a football team without its quarterbacks, and that wasn't going to draw a great crowd. But they did get a good crowd because of that. And look, the takeaway for me was that they've got the pieces around DJ Lagway to be really successful this year. It's all going to come down to his health and whether he's able to, he's going to start throwing in June, and hopefully it works out. And they've done everything they can to get him ready. But I think there's a little bit of trepidation with Gator fans right now about his condition and whether he's going to be able to go in the fall.
It's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I feel like you make a big jump in that second spring, and not being able to have those reps is something that is disappointing for sure. But what have you heard about his prognosis and how close is he to getting back to 100%, if he can get back to 100% this offseason?
Yeah, well, I think that's the main reason they've shut him down for the throwing, was to get him back to where he is as close to 100% as they can get. He's had a lower body injury as well. And I don't know if he had surgery on it or not, but there's talk that maybe he did. And then, so that'll hinder your throwing too, but they want him to start in June and be ready to go. Now, you never know with shoulders. You know how that is, Greg. I mean, with shoulders, sometimes they can get tender when you start throwing, and that's just going to mean they have to shut you down again. And I think that's the big concern. But everybody over there seems to be very optimistic about it, that this is the pattern, that this is the program they put him on to get him ready to be ready to go when they open up the season in late August.
What did you take from the spring game that might lead into the portal opening today? Maybe a guy or two that could be on their way out, or a position or two that maybe needs to be addressed further through the transfer portal into Gainesville?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Cole. I just don't. I don't know that they're going to hit the portal very hard right now. According to Billy Napier, and this is what he said after the spring game, they've got 98% of their team locked up for NIL deals, so they're not worried about anybody leaving. Anybody else leaving. And, I don't know that they really have a lot of holes on this team right now, to be honest with you. I don't know they're going to hit. They'll probably look for some backups, in the portal. I mean, that was the thing to me that was so impressive. And again, you're watching a spring game, and anything you do good on offense means you didn't do good on defense. And anything you do good on defense means you didn't do good on offense. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it feels like they've got the best receiving and running back room they've had in a long, long time. And the offensive line should be pretty good too with 4 starters back. So I think offensively, if Lagway's ready to go, I think this could be a playoff type team. The question is going to be, are they able to sustain what they did last year on defense? They were a decent defense last year and hadn't been for a long time. Can they do that again this year? Can they take another step forward?
How would you assess the wide receiver position? You hear some buzz about the freshman that is just all world. I know he had like 200 yards receiving in the spring game or whatnot, and now all of a sudden the receiver position went from a position of concern to a position of strength. How would you assess the weapons that Lagway will have at his disposal?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas Wilson is really legit. I mean, after the game, Napier said that's what a 5-star looks like. And I mean, they haven't had a lot of 5-star receivers around here in a while. So I think it showed how good he is. Big, strong, physical guy, tall, can go up and get the ball. And they didn't even play Trey Wilson in this game, who's, still coming off that injury from last year. They wanted to hold him back. And so we saw what he did last year when he was healthy. He was unbelievable. He's unstoppable. So you take those two guys and you add in Aiden Mizell, who's had a great spring. And they're so loaded there, just in terms of the numbers that they can put out there. It's kind of reminds me of Florida's basketball team, where the depth is going to be really good. And that was a killer for opponents that played Florida, as they wore everybody down during the tournament. And I think that's what Florida's going to do here. They're just going to keep running guys at you. And the running back room looks incredible, guys. I mean, it's Jacoby Jackson is legit, and he was good last year. And then you add in Jaden Ball, and you add in Trayon Webb back, and also I love this kid Dallas Clark as a guy who catches the ball out of the backfield really well, and they like him as a freshman, so he's an early enrollee. So they're in good shape in all those positions, and they've got everybody locked up. So it's just a matter of keeping the quarterback healthy and finding a way for him to be able to do the things that he does so well when he is healthy.
Absolutely. We're talking with Pat Dooley, covers the Florida Gators, has for quite some time, does it well. I think the running back room obviously is going to be strong. I saw a couple highlights from different guys in the spring game. We know we talked to Lagway already. We talked to some pass catchers. A lot of folks think the offensive line is just going to be a lot better. Is there a concern for you offensively right now that you look at and say, yeah, that's not what it needs to be. It's not going to be enough?
No, I think they feel pretty good about it. I mean, they got 4 starters back, and obviously one of them was an All-American last year, and Jake Slaughter, the center. That's always good when you have a center All-American that you can count on. Austin Barber has been really good for a couple of years now, and he's back, and Damian George. So, I mean, they're in good shape there. They've built the depth up pretty well. I think that they feel good about that. That's an area where they may go get one more guy in the portal if they feel like they need to. They may also defensively go get a couple guys, but the offensive line they think is going to be a strength. I will say this: I've seen offensive lines that people said were going to be strengths, and then I watched them and they weren't strengths. So, but in the spring game, they looked really good. I mean, they were just opening up holes all over the place. So now, again, you have to take all spring games with a grain of salt.
Fine.
A lot of salt.
Yeah, right. Finally, with just the advancements made on defense and some of the progress that was made last year, especially along the defensive line late in the year, what's the ceiling for that group, you think? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but do you think that's a group like that can become one of the top groups in the SEC based on some jumps they might have from some young players?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part about it. I mean, Miles Graham is going to be a guy they're counting on. Of course, Ernest Graham's son, who was a big-time recruit as well, and he was great in this game. I think he led the team in tackles with 8. He's a tackling machine, an incredible athlete, and that's where they've got to get better. I mean, linebacker is a position of slight concern just because obviously Shamar James gone, and he was a big part of last year's team. And to me, it's going to come down to the same thing it always comes down to. Can you generate a pass rush? They did it last year, especially late in the year. They were really good at rushing the passer, forcing interceptions, which a year ago they had 3 interceptions the entire year. And this year, I think they had 13. So they got better at that part of it. And this is part of everything that Billy Napier's trying to do, was to build this team up slowly instead of looking for quick Band-Aid cures. And I think, maybe Gator fans are finally ready to, their expectations are high. I mean, they expect things to go good. And I asked this question on my radio show, guys. Do you feel any different about football going into the start of the season than you did basketball, because nobody thought basketball was going to win the national title. You were hoping they'd get into the tournament. That was your goal, and that's kind of the goal right now with football. I don't think anybody felt any better about basketball than they do about football right now, to be honest with you.
That's totally fair. And you look across the landscape, we've talked about it, Pat. There are not a ton of teams that you just have the utmost confidence in that are going to be dominant in football this year.
There's not. I mean, the quarterback situations around this conference are kind of squirrely right now, obviously, with what the Nico thing changes some things up, and who knows where they're going to go to get somebody. But, I mean, you look around the conference, and it's not like you're scared of anybody, to be honest with you. So, hey, we'll see what happens. We got a long way to go, as you know, and I'm excited about this football season coming up for a lot of reasons. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun watching football once we get past the portal and the NIL and just start playing football again.
No doubt. Pat Dooley, we appreciate the time. Always great having you on, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, anytime you guys need me, I'm happy to do it.
Yes, sir. Pat Dooley, our guest there, not just guest, but our guest, Pat Dooley, covers the Florida Gators. As Chris Woodward tweets in, guest tells at Mac and Cube that Florida could be a, quote, playoff-type team. Pat Dooley. Did I not do a proper introduction there, John? Did I miss something? Did I fall
like
short of that?
You did one introduction, you did several resets too.
Well, I usually get in trouble for the resets. Hey, guy, we know who it is.
I don't know. Does he have a problem with what was said?
No, he referenced him as guest. I feel like Pat deserves just an ounce more respect than that.
Why did you refer to that guy as listener or tweeter? Why'd you put some respect on his name? You should have. You just said,
Chris Woodward.
Listener says.
Yeah, reporter Chris W. on Twitter.
Yeah.
Reports that guest tells Mac and Cube Florida could be a playoff-type team. Could they?
Don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, the Florida Gators. Could they be in this college football playoff discussion after what happened last season with that daunting schedule, and they found a way to win a good amount of ball games, knocked off some top 15 teams along the way. A lot of expectations there in the swamp in Gainesville. Thanks to Pat Dooley for breaking that down with us. Keep it locked right here. On the other side, we'll continue the conversations of just some teams in the SEC on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:30 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell alongside John Saybear hosting the best of McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. These guys are out today, but we're having some fun. Got a chance to listen to Pat Dooley in the last segment as he broke down what he saw from the Florida spring game and the expectation for the Florida Gators heading into the fall, man. A lot of positive energy, a lot of positive vibes there in Gainesville, especially with DJ Lagway finally taking over the full reign at the quarterback position. And we saw the talent that he had last season. I mean, you go back to that Florida game, man, had he not gone down, there's no telling what could have happened in that matchup. It really felt like Florida had a lot of the momentum, but now he's the number one guy. Got some pieces returning on the offensive side, the defensive side of the ball. Billy Napier, man, he was fighting for his life pretty much all season long last year. And Scott Strickland finally said, you know what, Billy's our guy. And from that point forward, they didn't look back. So it'll be interesting to see what the Florida Gators look like. But are they one of the teams that could potentially actually fall in expectations? And I say the fall in expectations in the fall. But when we look at the SEC as a whole, we got a chance to hear the win totals and if guys are going over or under those expectations right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
We'll start at the top. Alabama, their over-under win total is set at 9.5.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
I think it's about right. I don't immediately say they'll be under that. So next.
That would be Arkansas at 5.5.
I'd probably take the over.
Now I'm interested in the Arkansas schedule. I don't think that they are going to be below that as far as my expectation for what they're going to do this year. Just without even having the schedule in front of me, I would probably say take Arkansas on the over.
I would take the over. Just knowing the quarterback by himself, another year in the system, Bobby Petrino calling the plays, I expect pretty good development that you can expect from that position. Now, will they have the same level of receiver? Big question. I don't know the answer to that.
Alabama A&M, Arkansas State, at Ole Miss, at Memphis, Notre Dame at home, at Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri. So A&M, Arkansas State could be 2. You would think that they'll get Memphis. That would be 3. Mississippi State they should get would be 4. So you need 2 other wins between Missouri, Texas, LSU, A&M, Tennessee, Auburn, Ole Miss.
I think they can get a couple of those. What do you think?
I think there's a chance A&M's not going to be great on offense. There's a chance Tennessee's not going to be great on offense. Missouri, a lot of unknowns. Ole Miss, a lot of unknowns. Not going to be as good as they were on defense last year. So I think they can get 2 of those.
I think they can definitely get 2 of those.
I would say go over there. Okay, John, continue, please.
Let's have a little fun. The Auburn Tigers, 7.5.
Could go below that, but I don't feel like
I'm gonna go over.
I don't feel like the expectations are out of whack as far as they're going to be way below that. So
I don't think they'll be below that. I think they'll be over that. But then again, I thought they'd be over that last year. So it just, they kind of lost a few just by shooting themselves in the foot. Assuming a smarter team, assuming a team that doesn't make the critical mistake is, I would think, a safe assumption.
I think they're going to go over it, but I don't have confidence they'll blow way past it. The difference for Auburn this year will be the back half of the schedule. You play Georgia October the 11th. You get Missouri, Arkansas on the road, Kentucky at home, Vandy on the road, a week off, Mercer, and then Alabama. That is nowhere close to the way that they finished last season or what the middle of last season looked like. So that Oklahoma game is massive. The game in Norman week 4 is huge. And
even if they get beat there, though, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they can.
Would you say they have to get one of 2 at Oklahoma, at A&M, back-to-back, September 20th, September 27th?
That would be really helpful.
Yeah, you got to split that, I think.
Yeah, really
and
really helpful.
Need to get Baylor. I think they need to get Baylor for a lot of reasons.
No, I think I've already given them Baylor. I'm not saying it's an automatic lock, but if they're going over, they better get that one.
Yes. Okay, John.
Florida Gators at 6.5.
Definitely not a team that's going to be under that expectation. No. Greg.
But that feels, the only problem with that is like, why is it so low? Tough schedule. I get all that. I have a hard time thinking that
I think
team.
if you make it 7.5, everybody's betting the under.
Good. I'd still take the over.
Okay. Next.
The Georgia Bulldogs at 9.5. I
Over.
don't think they're going under
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
where it needs to be. I don't think that's egregious. Okay.
Whew, the mighty have fallen. Kentucky at 4.5.
Under.
They're not going. The reason that I think Kentucky doesn't fall into the category that we're discussing is, as you just stated, 4.5 wins. The expectations are not for them to be very good. So I don't think that they're going to fall short of expectations per se. The number game might be a little bit different, but are they falling short of expectations? I'm going to say no. Toledo, Ole Miss, Eastern Michigan, at South Carolina, at Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, at Auburn, Florida, Tennessee Tech, at Vandy, at Louisville. They can get 5.
They can.
Yeah, so I'm saying the
But will they?
expectation's not out of whack. Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of expectations, LSU 8.5.
Very surprising, because if you look at the schedule, I feel like it's tough, but not unbearable. I would take over. I like LSU a lot, but it's kind of hinging on progress defensively and a better offensive line performance from start to finish. I don't know if you're going to get better offensive line performance, so you better be better on defense.
Clemson week 1's tough on the road, but I don't see a lot of other teams that I look at on the schedule and say, no, they can't get them. I mean, Oklahoma could be tough. Bama could be tough. A&M could be tough. Ole Miss could be tough. Florida could be tough, but none of those teams are light years ahead of them. None of them. So, yeah, I'm fine with it, but they're not going to be way under that, though.
No.
A team that potentially could be, though, haven't really talked about them much, also at 8.5, Ole Miss.
Under.
This feels like a team that could.
I think so far, if we're talking about teams that could fall short of expectations, that could be the one. If Austin Simmons is not the guy and the defense is a little more leaky than it was last year, yeah, I could see it. Georgia State at Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, LSU. Well, you're going to be beat up after month 1, Greg.
Yes. I would think that it's going to be a grind, but I'm not a believer this year. Too many unknowns on defense.
Washington State at home. At Georgia, at Oklahoma, South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, at Mississippi State. I don't look at a lot of these teams and say they're automatic losses, but I look at teams and say, with today's college football, I would reference it as this. This is an expensive schedule, meaning the price you're going to pay for playing some of these teams is not going to offset just getting the win.
Yeah.
And I mean that when I say Washington State, Tulane, probably even Georgia State still. Those are going to be games that your starters have to play a little bit longer. Those are going to be games that are a little bit more physical than Citadel later in the year.
Yeah.
And getting some of those games early, all of those games are first half of the season, by the way, with a physical Kentucky, pretty physical Arkansas, and pretty physical LSU team. Oh, by the way, then you got Georgia, Oklahoma back-to-back on the road. And you got to get South Carolina the week after that. It appears to be an expensive schedule is how I would sort of discuss it. And yes, I think if so far the teams we've talked about, that would be one that has a chance of falling short of expectations.
Yeah. And I really like the possibility of everything that they did last year and everything that can be built on from last year. I don't like the idea of it necessarily getting just rolled over in perpetuity. Like, I think it's a rebuild. And I while there are pieces that I like, there are too many unknowns for me to feel great about what they could accomplish this year.
All right, see if we can get 1 or 2 more in.
There are a few more that I'm going to hold off on, but one I think you can have fun with. Vanderbilt, 4.5.
Well, they're not falling short of that. I'll say that.
You would take the over.
Charleston Southern, at Virginia Tech, at South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State, at Bama, LSU, Missouri, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, at Tennessee. I could see it being closer than people think.
Right on the mix. It's going to be right on the line.
But you should
You should have 3 in the non-con.
Southern, Georgia State, Utah State. You
have
get
3
those.
in the non-con for sure. But you still have.
If you get Virginia Tech week 2, you're fine.
I don't know if you're going to get Virginia Tech week 2. At Virginia
Everybody
Tech.
said that last year. I'm sorry. They play Metallica before the game starts. Nobody can win that game.
Can't win it. It's the ACC. Don't lose sight of the ACC.
You think Diego Pavia gives 1 rip about Metallica before a game? That actually probably helps him.
It probably does.
Got a chance to hear about the expectations and win totals around the SEC. Had some fun. And again, it's early on. There's no telling what this could potentially be. But we shall see. That's the fun about football season. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. $8:43 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saber holding the fort down as we play a little bit of the best of. Got a chance to hear from Jake Rowe earlier in the week. He covers the Georgia Bulldogs. And speaking of teams with high expectations, feels like Georgia is primed and ready. Does Kirby have those guys ready for another college football playoff berth? As we wrap up the spring, here is Jake Rowe as he discussed the Georgia Bulldogs on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
Jake, what were you able to learn about how Kirby Smart put this event together on Saturday?
It was a normal G Day. They didn't really do anything different than what they normally do. Maybe flip players from projected first team offense to projected second team offense a little bit more than usual. Maybe mixed and matched with the first half and the second half. But overall, it was a very typical air attack spring game. They dropped back. I would guess there were at least 100 called pass plays in that game. Several scrambles to go with 88 pass attempts, and they only ran it 40-something times. So one of those deals where he tried to do something that was going to be entertaining and, put the ball in the air a lot, wanted to challenge DBs, wanted to let receivers make plays. And what you're going to have when you have something that lopsided is it's going to be a little sloppy at times, and it's going to look good at times. And I thought I came away overall impressed with some elements of the team that I thought, need to be good for Georgia to be good this year.
When you look at what Gunnar Stockton's bringing to the position and how unified the team might be as a result of his leadership, how much do you think that will improve? the overall chemistry on the team?
It certainly is not going to hurt. I always struggle with that, and it's not that I don't think it means something. I know, you two have been there, and y'all know how much that means. I don't always know how straight of the story you get, because now all of a sudden we've got a lot of media people, especially in our market, and I'm not trying to make any enemies here by saying this, but we got a lot of people that want to, as my grandmother would say, throw off on Carson Beck here, and kind of this and that. I'm not saying you guys are trying to do that. And they're trying to do that in conjunction with, lifting up Gunner. And listen, I know this team will play its heart out for Gunner. I get that. But I just don't have a great feeling on exactly what it means. What I do know is they love Gunner. And I think Gunner, just as importantly, is the fact that Gunner's a great leader and he's a unifying presence there. And he's the type of guy that you'll run through a wall for because he'll do it for you. I think Gunner's a talented football player too. And I saw some of that on Saturday, some throws in the second half of that game that I was like, okay, those are. I don't necessarily know that I thought Gunner had that in him, and he uncorked a few deep balls, a few balls beyond 20 yards in that second half that I were like, that's nice.
Jake Rowe joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. He covers the Georgia Bulldogs. Jake, is there any indication that Bobo sort of morphs the offense a little bit around Gunnar Stockton's abilities? He'll give you more with his legs. Obviously, contact not going to shy away from. Don't have to be as protective of him. Even though you mentioned some of the things he showed you with his arm, could the offense just look a little bit different with him at the helm?
I'm sure it will, but we didn't get to really see any of that in G-Day because obviously, no contact, no quarterback not doing anything as far as that goes. I did see a lot more kind of moving the pocket type stuff, just directly sprint out stuff because Gunnar, I do feel like is a more so than he's a fast guy or even a guy that's powerful. I think he's got some twitch to him. He's got some quickness there. And I think when you've got a guy that can kind of when he can get 0 to full speed pretty quickly and kind of move the pocket that way, I think it's pretty important. And so I think his ability to kind of get out of there and throw on the run is something that you'll see a lot more of in this Georgia offense. But in terms of more from the offense around his mobility a little bit more, it's tough to know with a G-Day game like that since they can't really tackle him.
Do you think that this passing attack has a chance to be much better because of the receivers? I know Gunnar Stockton might not be as capable. I know you said a moment ago he's got plenty of arm. I think he's got all you can possibly ask for. But I do think at the same time, this receiver core has a chance to be so much more impressive, considering they just have a chance to be maybe, I don't know, consistent. Good starting point there. So as a result of the receiver improvement, is there a chance that the passing attack is actually better?
Greg, I would have had a lot better things to say this time last year about the receiver group too that they had last year. And then Ra Thomas ran into his stuff, and then Colby Young ran into it, and Georgia was left without a split end. They didn't have anybody to play X receiver that had really any experience doing that, and they had to lean on Dylan Bell. It wasn't really his forte. I certainly think Georgia is deeper and more talented at receiver than they were this time last year. And I think they're better equipped to handle some of those losses. London Humphreys had a big game, the second-year transfer from Vanderbilt. He's on his second year on campus. He made some big plays for Georgia last year at times, but he had a good showing, and I thought he was impressive. Zach Branches was a little bit limited. The transfer from USC was a little bit limited because he's been battling a hamstring towards the end of camp, and we didn't get to see a whole lot of Noah Thomas. But the freshmen, C.J. Wiley, Taylon Taylor, both very impressive players. Getting Colby Young back, it has been a big deal for this offense. And Dylan Bell being a little bit more in his element, I think is going to really help Georgia. A guy that can play flanker, can play slot, can line up at tailback for you. You can move him around and find different ways to get the ball to him. He's another guy who had a really big game. I think he had 5 touches for over 80 yards or over 90 yards, sorry. So I certainly like the talent in that receiver room. And I also think another part of this offense that Gunnar Stockton helps unlock is, Carson Beck, for as talented of a passer as he was, and man, he was just an absolute baller in that mid-range that 10 to 25 yard area. Like he was so good. Gunner is very accurate pushing the ball downfield. And that's something that you saw that in the Sugar Bowl, and you saw that a lot in the second half on Saturday with probably 5-6 throws beyond 20 yards that he couldn't have walked out there and handed it to him in a better spot. He's got a knack for that, and I think that's something that when you've got that, we've seen it with Jalen Milroe in the past with Alabama. When Jalen Milroe is out there putting deep balls on a tee for his receivers, Alabama was tough to stop, and I think Gunner has the ability to kind of push the ball out there and make those over the shot, those layups really count.
We're visiting with Jake Rowe, who covers the Georgia Bulldogs, just talking some of the expectations coming out of their spring game, which I guess I can safely say we weren't able to see it, Jake. So if you tell us it was a game, we'll call it a game. Not able to reference that at a lot of other spots. That portal window is going to open. We're already seeing guys heading in, or at least announcing that they're going to be in. Do you expect much roster change after this next portal window for Kirby Smart?
Yeah, not a ton, but yeah, there will be some. I think Georgia's probably going to want to lose 3 or 4. That's the way the portal goes too. I mean, it takes away by necessity sometimes. So I think they'll probably lose 3 or 4 guys. They really want to bring in an edge, and I think they'd like to bring in 2 if they could, kind of an edge outside backer type and then an edge 5-tech DN type. I think they would love to bring in guys at those, 2 specific spots. I think running back's another thing. You started hearing some buzz about that about 10 days ago, which makes me think that they probably got one going out at some point, and that's not surprising considering, a true freshman, Bo Walker, has been one of the biggest stories of the spring. And then, obviously, I feel like this is the same for 99% of teams in college football. If they can find the right fit at quarterback, somebody that'll come in and want to work to try and earn the job and somebody they thought can stick around, I think they would go there and always D-tackle. Anybody and everybody would love to add the right guy at D-tackle, and I think Georgia would like to do that too.
It's amazing to me how many teams want to D-tackle. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's almost like there are none.
Seriously, it's like, how many? We don't live in an era when you get 9 anymore. Like you have 9 that can play. Like, I'm sorry, like back in the day, and these coaches are all spoiled by what they had 10 years ago. It doesn't work that way anymore. It'd be nice, but let's be real. What do you make?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about this specific thing, and they were like, "Well, Alabama used, Alabama used to keep them coming." I was like, "Yeah, but you don't have guys like Quinnen Williams playing 1 snap in the national championship game and then coming back and being the best player in college football the next season. Like that's not how it works anymore. If he's only playing 1 snap, he's moving on."
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a little different than it used to be. What do you make of just kind of what's gone on at the running back spot? Sounds like they're deeper at that spot than maybe I originally anticipated. We know what Nate Frazier is, but it sounds like they have a couple others that they're very excited about.
They do, Greg, but man, when I tell you that Georgia at running back, the stuff that they get themselves into with injuries is unbelievable. I mean, they stayed dinged up the past 2 seasons. And they at least found a way to get healthy in 2013. But you can go back to Jim Donnan, Mark Richt, and Kirby Smart, all of them. It's happened to other schools too. I mean, Alabama a couple years ago in the SEC championship game, Brian Robinson was questionable for the game, and he was the only only tailback they had. So I get the physicality of that spot. I like where they're at right now. Chauncey Bowens looked great in the spring game. Bo Walker's had a great spring. Nate Frazier's a known commodity. But are they going to be equipped to handle more injuries at that spot? And I think that's why you'll probably see them go through the portal, because behind those guys, you got 2 guys that were injured all spring in Branson and Roderick Robinson. Neither one of those guys have been able to catch a single break in terms of health. And then you got Dwight Phillips and Cash Jones, who are more kind of gadget, third down, edge runs and check down type backs. So, I think they're going to definitely try and add somebody, but I feel like they feel really good about their top 3 at that spot, which is Frazier, Bowens, and Walker.
Appreciate Jake Rowe hopping on with us earlier this week, discussing the Georgia Bulldogs and everything that transpired during the spring. Of course, we know their running back, Branson Robinson, he indeed did hit the transfer portal over the past couple of days. But right now, we get you set for our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend. And John, tell us about our friends at TD's.
Absolutely. You can get that super sofa or anything for the home at TD's Fine Furniture. Check out their spring clearance sale going on right now with markdowns up to 30% throughout the store, including their Flex Steel home store. You can pick it up today or have it delivered. That's TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton. What game are you looking at today?
I'm actually going for the game tomorrow, not the one that Cole will be on the call for, but the one after that on Big Boy Fox. Our Birmingham Stallions travel to Houston to take on the Roughnecks. Stallions look at 3 in a row. Could potentially be 3 wins in a row after starting off the season, losing to the DC Defenders, but we get back to winning ways, and the Roughnecks sitting at 1-2 right now. Birmingham, a 7.5-point favorite on the road in Houston. So our Birmingham Stallions against the Houston Roughnecks at 6 p.m. on Fox is my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend.
And for me, mine will tip off just a little bit later. I'm going to take the Lakers and the Timberwolves.
Hey,
I want to see what. All right, Lakers, you made this move to bring Luka in. Let's see what they're going to do in this postseason. Meanwhile, Timberwolves, all right, you've had to slide a little bit, but you guys are young. You're going to let the old heads beat you? We'll find out. ABC 7:30. That's my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend. Get that Super Sofa or anything for the home at TD's Fine Furniture. Check out their spring clearance sale going on now. Markdowns up to 30% throughout the entire store, including their Flex Steel home store. You can pick it up today or have it delivered. That's TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
all right, we got another hour left in McElroy Cubelic in the morning. We've been holding it down. Keep it locked. final hour here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear hosting the best of today. Cole had an early flight to Arlington, as he will be on the call for the St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the Arlington Renegades. That game at 11:30 on Saturday. So you get some early morning, get a little bit of early morning football there in the UFL. Of course, our Birmingham Stallions will be taking on the Houston Roughnecks at 6 p.m. That game will be on Fox. So we get a chance to you missed it yesterday. G-Mac again and Cole having some fun. When they start talking about positions on a baseball field, Greg, of course, testing his athletic prowess. It's very entertaining. So we have a two-parter here for you on our conversation yesterday. And it's we're not completely off the rails, but we do have some fun. So let's take a look at the some positions on the baseball field and also the football field with the guys right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
I feel like a pretty big number of guys who have had success changing positions. Dawson Knox, Terrell Pryor, Travis Kelce, Caden Priestcorn. There Antoine Randall L. I mean, there are guys that is that not one, John? I mean, he started out as a quarterback.
I mean, it happens.
Super Bowl MVP?
Cordell Stewart. I mean,
it definitely happens.
There have been guys, and there are a lot of ones that you could point to and say, look, he did it. Why is it so – why do they grasp so hard at that position? Like, why is it so hard to let go of playing quarterback? Like, what – and why is it so hard to see the end of the road at quarterback? Whereas it feels like in other sports, like when a guy needs to move to safety, he moves to safety. Like, you can't play corner anymore.
Like Jalen Mbakwe moves to receiver.
When a guy needs to go from defense to offense, like you kind of figure that out pretty quick. Like you're not playing D-line, buddy. You're not quick enough. You're not fast enough. Like you need to be on the offensive line.
Or vice versa. I mean, whatever.
Okay, either way.
Yeah.
But I just, like when the starting pitcher needs to go to the bullpen, I feel like that's not debated for years. It just kind of happens immediately. Like you can't do it anymore.
Because I think guys aren't realistic. At quarterback, you have to kind of have a little bit of an attitude like, I can do it. You have to be, I don't care. I can do it. You have to have that type of mentality. Like, if you don't have that mentality, you're probably not going to be any good. And when you're not any good and you have that mentality, then you're really in trouble. Interpret that as you will.
Is that the hardest position to let go of, do you think?
Probably. Because you're involved every snap. I mean, yeah, it's the most fun position, I would imagine. It's the hardest position. Yeah, I think that'd be a hard one to get to move away from, for sure. I mean, you were the center of attention to, becoming a rotational slot receiver. Like, what's worse than that?
Well, what's the next position in sports where guys transition out of to something else that's the hardest to let go of? Starting pitcher?
Yeah, probably. Or, a real position player to like a first baseman. Like,
you're saying first base is not a real position?
No. Did you see Moneyball?
I'd like to go to the park right now and throw you 10 balls in the dirt and see you scoop them.
Okay. You probably, first of all, you probably wouldn't even be trying to throw them in the dirt. You just would.
Even better.
I feel pretty good about being able to play first base at a.
I feel like if we went to the field right now and John hit me 20 balls at short and I threw you 20 in the dirt, you're not scooping 5 of them.
Oh, I got at least 5.
No.
Yeah, that's
no shot. We going turf or grass?
I don't play on grass. Who plays on grass?
Yeah, you want the easy hops. You want the clean hops in the turf.
No, I want dirt.
You want the sideways hops off rocks and grass and dirt.
Exactly. Those are tricky, but that's part of it. I don't know what it is about quarterback. And I think guys, and they have unrealistic parents, like the people in their team. Here's the thing. Quarterback is an expensive position to learn. You don't just show up and play quarterback. Like, there are mechanics that you have to learn, and it's not like you can, can you do it without lessons? Of course. Like, this whole era of, I got to have private lessons, to me is absurd. I've never understood it. Like, if you go out and throw the ball in the net over and over and over and over and over again, like, you can figure it out. Okay, would it be nice to have an extra set of eyes telling you what to do? Of course. Like having a coach, yeah, it's beneficial, but it's not a must. But, people have now convinced parents that they need to spend money on private lessons for their 7-year-olds, and that's the way things go. But I look at how much time and how much money and how much energy goes into learning that position. I think it's a hard thing to get away from. But what people don't realize, I think playing quarterback teaches you about so much more than just you see the bigger picture. Like you're able to see all 22. Like it just teaches you just from a visual standpoint how to see every position and how to see the big picture unfold as opposed to focusing in on that one position. If you look at a wide receiver and watch that guy, the guy needs to run one route. It's the easiest position there is. I mean, one route is all I got to do. I got to get open. Fine. I beat this guy. No problem. It's the easiest position there is. So I think that I understand why guys would maybe have a bit of a resistance, not, being the guy in the center of the tension and in the center of the action all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at, there's just so many guys that feel like they're hanging on, going to another place, and a position change feels like it could work if they wanted it to. Now you gotta want to get out. I mean, if you're Mike Wright, you're probably going to have to block a little bit. That's not cool. That's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. If you're Robbie Ashford playing slot or, try to bulk up and play, a little bit of a hybrid tight end position, yeah, you're probably going to have to get in people's way. It's not enjoyable.
Here's the other funny thing is I think there's this, big conception and misconception. Everyone always just suggests a position change. Sometimes the guy's not as athletic or as gifted as you think.
That's fair.
Like I've played with people like that. They're like, I don't understand why he doesn't just change positions. Well, because he runs like 4.8. Like he's actually not that big and strong. He can't just learn how to block the point. Like it doesn't. There's a little bit of a facade. Quarterback athleticism is very different than wide receiver athleticism. Or tight end athleticism or outside linebacker athleticism. It's very different. So I don't know. I think there is a little bit of it's so easy to change positions. I don't know why he doesn't just go and play tight end or H-back. Well, because he can't catch. It's
a great point, but
he can't run routes.
But Mike Wright has tried it. I mean, he did. He did it at Mississippi State a little bit.
Was he good at it?
I don't think he was. I think there were indicators that he had a chance to be pretty good at it. He wasn't immediately good. But, I mean, by the way, are there quarterbacks out there that can't catch? Like, how do you throw? What do you do? Like, do you have a receiver walking around you wherever you go, that, like you do in warm-ups, that catches for you?
I think
I know y'all are afraid of jamming your fingers, so you don't you have people catch the ball for you most of the time anyway.
I think most quarterbacks have pretty good hands.
I would imagine.
But I don't even think it's necessarily about that. But they can't run routes. Doesn't know how to separate. Not sudden. Can't bend. Like, okay, can run you over with the ball in his hand on quarterback power. But he's not really bendy. He's not really loose. He's tight. He doesn't have good hips. He doesn't have fast feet. I mean, there's different skill sets. Like, I think people just think, he's big, he's strong, he can play tight end. Oh, he's tall, he's fast, he can play receiver. It doesn't work that way. Like, it doesn't work. Like, there are other skills that you need to learn to be able to make that transition. And yeah, are there freak shows like Antoine Randall that can figure it out? Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, those guys are rare, man.
Once in a generation,
super rare.
Guy. AC's dad tweets in, former collegiate first baseman here would pay real American dollars to watch Greg attempt to scoop short hops. I'm with you. I'll be there. 5 out of 20 is my number. I don't think he could get it.
I feel good about it. Depends on how garbage your throws are.
They're going to be as bad as possible. Trust me. I'm gonna try to hop that thing about a good 3 feet in front of you, so it's just out of reach of your stretch.
That's too far. I could play it back a little bit and catch it.
Okay.
I feel good about being able to pick up short hops. Believe me, dude, I play catch with a 6-year-old every day.
That does help.
Like my short
wide
hops,
short hops, long
wide
hops,
short hops, long stretches, high throws.
Not paying attention in your face.
100%.
I get a few of those from the 4-year-old.
Yeah, like
it's 2 feet away from me and thinks he needs to throw it as hard as he can.
Mine could throw it hard. That's the problem. It's it's not super accurate.
I don't need you to be right in front of me to throw it as hard as you can, though. Like, back up.
Well, I keep telling him, like, do you need to throw it? Like, stop lobbing it. Like, throw it hard. Like, practice throwing hard. Like, that's going to teach your body how to move. Like, practice throwing hard. Practice swinging hard. Like, do it. Throw it hard. Your body will figure it out. And golly, is he taking that thing and run with it? Like, all right, maybe not from 4 feet away, and maybe
Yeah.
not on the third throw of the day. Like, I mean,
Maybe we'll get out there. Maybe we'll see. My challenge stands.
feel good about it.
We still have Wimp's free throw challenge. He doesn't think we can make any, I don't believe.
I have a 12-inch glove, though. I need to maybe get a bigger glove. If we're trying to go 5 for 20, I'm going to need to probably get a bigger glove.
Go get whatever glove you need.
I have a middle infielder glove because I'm just a quick
Go
hands
get
third base guy.
a damn hockey goalie mitt if that's what you need. I don't care. I don't think you can do it.
Hockey goalie mitt.
5 of 20. And I'm going to mess up and throw a few in the air, and they'll get there, and that's gonna ruin it.
That's hilarious. You're going to try to one-hop it. You're going to throw it perfect.
It'll happen.
All right, fine. I'll throw those, and then I get to burn you out from shortstop, throwing it as hard as humanly possible. See how many you catch. In the chin, that is.
I didn't say first base was a fake position.
It's a fake position compared to shortstop as far as what you're asked to do in the field.
Oh, that conversation is just getting warmed up. We get you part 2 on the other side. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. $9:15 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saber holding it down as we have a little fun with the best of. You got a chance to hear in the first segment how G-Mac thinks he still got it. I'd like to see some. I would like to see Greg in the infield to see what he's like in the baseball.
He had a calf heart attack. He ain't got nothing.
Age starting to catch up with him. But we continue with that conversation because it's going to take a mean left turn when we start looking at positions on the baseball field and pretty much their football comparisons. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
When you get sent to first base as a position player in baseball, you're basically getting sent to the.
Hold on a second. This isn't
or DH, either one of the two.
Okay, well, DH is a totally different
Same
conversation.
thing,
We're not
but
going to have that
people
conversation.
sometimes go to first base before they go to DH.
But
they
I
have
feel
a good
like you're
DH.
still living in like 1998 right here. The first base is not throw the old guy over there anymore.
It's not?
No.
You might want to double check. There have been a few examples of which they're like, we'll put our really good hitting center fielder at first base because he can't run anymore. It's like getting sent to the retirement community. You can still do cool things. Like shuffleboard every day is really fun. I love playing mahjong. I can go and play 9 holes of golf every day and carry a
Keep
bag.
that clip right there for him, please. I love playing mahjong.
It is. It's fun. I mean, these are fun things. But I acknowledge that it skews a little older. And when I get to the retirement community someday, I'm going to
be dead serious with you right now. And this is going to sound bad. I don't mean this to sound bad. I just mean this because of listening to my wife discuss mahjong.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't think men played mahjong.
First time I played mahjong was on spring break.
Because every time I hear her talking about it or every picture she shows me of other people playing it or every get together, there's not a single male that plays.
No. I played with my wife and the other couple that we were on spring break with.
Did you win?
Won twice.
What's the goal to win?
It's extremely complicated. But there are rows. It's
we
no
get
different.
It. You understand it because it's hard.
It's no different than poker.
Yeah.
It's no different than poker, and you need to have 14 tiles instead of 5 cards. It's not easy, but it's fun. It is. It's competitive, and it gets your brain thinking, and it was a fun thing to do. Now, when you look at these mahjong clubs, they're basically it's basically no different than a guy going to the sports bar and drinking 7 beers. Like that's what the mahjong clubs are for the moms. Like it's
the guy doesn't accomplish anything though. At least they think they accomplish like a win in a game.
No, it's fine, but it's mostly social gossip. And the funny thing is how what
gets less done? Book club or mahjong club?
Book club for sure. Book club is absolutely useless. Mahjong club is the new version of book club. It is. The mahjong, at least you have it requires some thought. I mean, book club is
some competition.
Yeah, some
like
competition.
In mahjong, like you're at least going at it.
It's a little bit like it'd be no different than us going and having like a poker game. The problem with mahjong and poker, or the problem with mahjong as opposed to poker, is like if we're playing Texas Hold'em, we can run through. If you have a terrible hand, you have a terrible hand, and guess what? I fold.
Yeah, you're out.
I'm out in 2 seconds. In mahjong, you have to play, and it's like I know I can't win. This hand is trash, but this is going to take 40 minutes, and I got to sit here and just play the game. And my goal at that point, when I know I have a trash hand, is to try to ruin the game for everybody else so that nobody mahjons. But it's not fun.
Okay.
That's the only difference. But it's
I will say that I think your view of the move the old beat up guy to first base, especially now the DH in both leagues, I think that's a foreign deal. I think you need dudes at first base now.
It happens.
Oh, it definitely happens, but if you went to like 1998 or 2004, I think a third of your first basemen in Major League Baseball were that guy.
Collecting Social Security.
Just get him over there.
Yeah.
But it's like people would probably say, like, look at Freddie Freeman. He's been a great first baseman his whole career.
Yeah, he's got a great glove.
So I think that people it's not like, hey, how many games can we sacrifice Frank Thomas at first base, even though we use him at DH all these other games? I don't think that's it anymore. I think you got to have a guy that can play the position. It's not a throwaway spot. So
I'm not saying it's a throwaway spot. I'm saying that there are examples of old guys that get moved to first base from center field, and that would be a shot to the ego. No one's saying first base isn't a real position for some. All I'm suggesting is it's a shot to the ego for some because playing center field requires more athleticism than playing first base. Playing shortstop requires a little bit more than what you have to do at first base. Like try being Derek Jeter and playing shortstop for 15 years. All of a sudden you lose a step. You're like, hey, yeah, you know what? You know what we're going to do, Derek? We're going to move you to first base. We're going to move you to shortstop. We're going to move you from shortstop to first base. Or, you know what? Even worse, we'll move you to second base. Ugh. It's the worst. You know that would be a shot to the ego. You can try to deny it all you want.
It would. It doesn't mean first basemen aren't athletic or skilled.
Oh, God.
I don't know why I'm taking up for first baseman today.
What's wrong with you? You know what? Because you are a first baseman. You are a
I didn't play first.
Yeah, but
Kevin
you are.
Staninka was our first baseman in high school. And he was really good at scooping the ball, and he was not athletic at all.
You're the perfect
even
candidate,
though he went to play football at Lindenwood.
You're the perfect candidate, though, at your age.
I was DH in outfield.
Right now, end of your career.
DH in outfield.
No, you're not DH anymore.
Well,
outfield.
Cannon.
Outfield?
Tag up on me from third when I was playing right field.
God, you better pray to God that you don't have to move off the spot. You better hope that your shift was perfect and he hit it straight to you.
You down.
I'm not saying you can't catch it and throw it. No one said that.
What are you going to say next? That catcher is where they put old guys that can't play?
Yeah, the opposite. That's the only position in baseball that I have like an immense amount of respect for.
The only one?
Yeah. Like my respect level for catchers is equitable to that of like a middle linebacker in football.
Like you don't respect third baseman in Major League Baseball.
No, I do to an extent. I kind of respect third baseman the same way I respect like certain positions on the football field. Like I view a catcher as a football player as far as toughness and like gumption.
Like a center.
Yeah, like the catcher is a total bad butt. Like that dude freaking rocks. Like I love that guy. You know what I mean? I love that guy. Like hardcore in it. Like that guy's the man.
Got it. Okay.
Left fielder, they're kind of like a Z receiver. Like they're fine. Like I'm fine. Catcher,
center fielder is your X receiver.
Yeah.
Catcher will be your center.
Right fielder,
starting pitcher, your quarterback.
So like here, yeah. So starting pitcher's your quarterback. Catcher,
who's your running back?
Running back's your shortstop.
I would have said third.
No, third base and right field are in the same category. That's like those two are kind of in the same category. First base
you got those shots coming down the third base line you got to deal with, and you're acting like that's a throwaway position.
First base is the guy that used to play left tackle that got moved to right guard, and they're like, oh, he's lost his
doesn't have the lateral agility.
Doesn't have the lateral agility anymore. That's your first baseman. All right, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Your middle linebacker with one. You know what? Here's your football positions. All right.
I feel like right field. You could make this argument. Occasionally left field, maybe.
No, left field's out.
I just don't like. Who are your throwaway third basemen these days? Like I just don't think they're real.
No, right field and third baseman are studs. Like they're studs.
What's second base?
Slot receiver.
Like your Wes Welker.
Yeah. Like solid athletic, but
too small to play anything else.
Can't throw it. Doesn't hit for power. Like can't throw it anywhere. Like, but he's got a good glove. And
he's asking like Brett Boone didn't hit for power.
Okay, so there was but Jeff Kent. There were 3 third basemen ever. There's second baseman that hit for power, ever. All right, ever. Your running back is your shortstop. Your middle linebacker, enforcer, eraser is your catcher. Your third baseman is your like free safety. Your right fielder is your strong safety. Your center fielder is a corner or X receiver. Your Z receiver is your left fielder. Slot receiver is your second baseman. First base is the left tackle that got slid down to left guard because he doesn't have the quickness anymore. Pitcher's your quarterback, and I think we just covered them all.
That's about right. Pitcher works once every 5 days. Quarterback, but works fifth of the time.
Yeah, but when you're at the work, you got to work hard.
Yeah, work smart.
Yeah, how mad are you?
Accurately.
How
I don't know
mad
about
are you
working
that we just
hard.
nailed it?
I don't know working hard.
Are you mad that we nailed it?
You have to work accurately and intelligently, but yes.
And your DH is your center, who's good at one thing and one thing only, snapping.
That's it. Yeah.
Being fat.
I would say the DH is your kicker, basically. Yeah. It's about the same.
So, long snapper, actually.
Yeah. Pick any. DH is just basically special teams. That's essentially what it is.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. All right. Spring weather in Alabama, something you might not be fine with, but it is unpredictable. That's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. Right now, you can receive a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. Find out more at Trane.com. Remember, it's hard to stop a Trane. Dave in Hoover wants to chime in on first baseman. Welcome in, Dave.
Yeah, actually, I played third in college, but so first base to the left-handed hitter is what? third base is to the right-handed hitter. Now, how many times you see a Little League game, ground ball goes to short of third, first baseman kid goes over and he puts his throw in the back before the ball is even released. Major League first baseman, along with college, you stand 6 inches from the bag. When the throw comes over from third towards the outfield, the first baseman takes a half step to the right, points to the ball, reaches out and catches it, takes his left foot and steps back and touches the bag. If you don't do that, you've locked yourself into the bag, and if it's a wide throw, you're going to miss it. The other problem is you've got
Hold on. You're saying
first
first baseman touch the bag after they catch the ball?
At the same time or after. Because what you do is you're standing 4 or 5 inches from the bag. Look at Freddie Freeman next time. When the ball goes on the ground, he stands next to the bag. And if the throw was wide towards the outfield, if his back foot is stepping on the bag towards home plate on the corner, that's a wide throw, he can't reach it. So he's standing at the middle of the bag, takes his right foot, you step out, you reach out, catch a ball, take your left foot, reach back and touch the bag. Now, if it's a bam-bam play, it's going to be a little bit different, but he's got to judge the ball where the ball's coming, if it's inside, if it's outside, where it is. The other problem you've got is, and Freddie Freeman's the best at it, is a ground ball in the hole between first and second. He cuts it off. He's got to position himself to turn the double play to throw the ball to second, to not throw it over the runner's head or hit the runner. So, I mean, first base is not quite as easy as everybody thinks it is. And, by the way, the quarterback on the field is your shortstop. The shortstop has to know on cutoffs where everybody's supposed to be. He's out calling numbers, telling where people to go. He's actually the quarterback on the field. On the infield,
I also feel like, Dave, like demeanor and like gear and attire, shortstop and quarterback go together. Like they're always holding up how many outs there are. Like, buddy, we know there's 2 outs, okay? Like we got it. Like center fielder caught them both. We don't need you telling everybody how many outs there are. We get it.
Alphas.
Correct. He's reminding the second baseman, hey, we got an offside here.
He's not. He's trying to draw attention to himself is what he's doing.
No, the second baseman, we already declared. The second base is their slot receiver. That's the guy literally knows nothing. I have to signal every route to him. We understand.
Absolutely.
We're on the same page.
Yep.
I'm going to have to start watching the first base thing you're talking about because I have not perceived it that way, but I'll have to start paying attention to that. By the way, 2 of your top home run leaders in Major League Baseball. Your home run leader right now in Major League Baseball is a converted player to first base.
Oh, you don't say. The guy from the Athletics?
Tyler Sauterson, catcher who's now playing some first.
Imagine that.
But I also wonder, too, is that a way to utilize him both ways? Because I don't think they ask these guys to catch every day anymore.
Well, he plays for the Athletics. So keep that in mind.
He's a Major League Baseball player.
I agree. I understand that. But the Athletics, because of funds.
Damian now?
No, they're Moneyball. They have to get their best players on the field somewhere. If their catcher and their first baseman, if they have 2 catchers that are both good, that's like, oh, shoot, well, we got to take one of those catchers and we got to find a place for him.
Oh, boy, I swear. G-Mac just hating. Certified hater. But the thing is, he ain't really wrong. I feel as though that he has a nice little, he's got a good read on just where the athletes are. And the crazy thing is, until I walked up on Greg McElroy, I didn't really think he was that much of an athlete. But then he had that moment in the SEC championship, and he's like, okay, got a little twinkle toe. He's got a little twinkle to him. But then again, he did have the calf heart attack. So that comes with age. 205-834-9450. We'll see you on the Jocks text line and having some fun with us there. We'll also continue the conversation on some of these positions, getting your reaction from the other day. Keep it locked right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 9:33 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear holding it down with you. Of course, your text messages, your tweets always welcome. You can tweet in the show at Mac and Cube. You can text in at 205-834-9450. Somebody text in. We're doing our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game in the week of the weekend. Somebody's texted in and said Lakers in 5. Pull that Shannon Sharp.
Okay, well,
I don't know, man. Listen, I mean,
it's asking a lot.
But if there is a guy that can take games over, it'd be Anthony Edwards on the other side, Minnesota. Because
very much so, yeah. And with, he's going to kind of need to because it is kind of just him. But let's not forget, like you got to play some defense. And as great as Luka is,
right,
it's 4-on-5 the other way.
Like he may give you 45 on one end, but Anthony Edwards may go for 45 on the other because Luka
he'll allow
Doncic
44 at least.
Exactly. Somebody else, we could tweet in at the show at Mac and Cube. Woody O'Neill at Woodlink3 text in. It says, my uncle was recruited by Georgia as a quarterback by Coach Dooley. Veer type stuff. He says, at practice, O-line wasn't great. My uncle was getting blown up. He turned to Dooley and said, I can block better than that. Dooley put him on the line. He ended up being an all SEC guard. That's wild.
So he gave up being quarterback.
Right.
Wow, that's whew.
That. Now you talk about moving your pride to the side and then going to the offensive line of all things. That's strong will. But also, I mean, you make the right decision. Ended up being an all SEC guard, but I don't know. I made a position change going from running back to receiver, which was, I mean, he just operated with more space. But I mean, you see it, you know, if guys really want to get on the field, when the coaches make position changes like that, it's all about just getting them more, you know, just trying to find a way to get onto the grass, man. Drake texts in, he says, well, LeBron wins a title. Do you think he hangs it up? I think I could see that being the swan song. But I think like his body, it hadn't really broke down. And I'd hate to see him on the back end. Rest in peace, but I hate for him to go out like the Kobe Bryant way of, you know, the injuries start taking over. You're not as dominant as you used to be. But then in his last game, he reminded you he still got it in.
Like what was the streak that ended? Like he ends a streak of what, like 20 points a game, 20 or averaging like 20 points.
I think it was 25.
Something, whatever it's like that, and ended up being like 24.4 or something. It's like, okay, like he obviously he still got it, but also you can see the decline starting to begin.
Oh yeah, you can see
he's still one of the maybe 10 best players in the league.
10?
Maybe. I mean, he's still up there, but I mean, there's still a good number of people that you're putting ahead of him. But I say all that to say, if the decline's beginning, how long can he keep up at being one of the most likely 10 best players? So if, say, next year, what if it drops to 20? So when you got Luka and a 20 best players, like, okay, is that enough?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think if he has another finals run in him, he would strongly consider. And then you could say he's retiring on top. But then again, he's probably got that old Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate that's going to go on for centuries.
I don't think he will, because I think he wants what Kobe got. I think he wants the swan song.
Right.
I think he wants the year of celebration and everything else like that, and go to every arena and get cheered. Because I think he would, even going back to Cleveland. I don't think if we went to every single arena and they did something for him, he would get cheered. I don't think he would get booed at the other arena. So I think he would want that.
Yeah.
So I think even if he wins another one this year, I don't think he would hang it up, because I think he wants the goodbye tour.
Yeah. And he deserves it. He deserves it. Especially when you're the greatest.
Okay.
Especially when you're the greatest. You want to
when you're at the top of the list of scoring, yes, he is in fact that. I won't disagree with that. He's the all-time scoring leader, yes.
Bobby texted in. He says, why is everybody so high on the Lakers? Luka doesn't play defense. LeBron can't guard everybody at the same time. Plus, the Lakers' big man won't hold up in the playoffs. No, I don't think the Lakers make it to the finals. If I had to pick, I would really lean Oklahoma City and Denver, because Joker is still Joker. I know they fired Michael Malone and they're kind of in that quote unquote rebuilding stage. But I would lean probably the Nuggets and the Thunder, which have been the best team in basketball. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably going to end up winning MVP. But again, like that Nuggets team, of course, with Jamal Murray being number 2 and just their squad, their starters for sure. But I think even Christian Braun, he's been pretty good collectively. Of course, Golden State, if Steph starts digging back into old Steph, it's going to be tough. And then with Jimmy Butler at it with it as well, they would be some sneaky picks.
It's wild because you just said most likely Thunder and Nuggets. That's your second round matchup.
Yeah.
So to get that early, that does seem kind of wild. I just don't know if I'm ready to trust the Thunder
because they're so young.
And yes, they were number 1 seed last year, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were up there.
They were up there. Yeah, either one or two.
Yeah, they got escorted out, kind of quickly. And so this year, like what's like we think, okay, well this year they've got the playoff experience. Well, we're really not quite sure, but I don't know whom else I trust more so.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, yeah, the Thunder is young, but I mean, do you really just Jokic right now, or you think LeBron's will be able to do it? Because also, by the way, let's be honest, we're getting LeBron and Steph in the next round. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
I don't know whose rails are gonna have to get greased, whose palms. I mean, I'd like to think that the refs don't, the NBA or the commissioner doesn't come down and say, hey, call it this way or whatever. But if you get a chance to most likely, potentially last time in the playoffs, get LeBron and Steph, yeah, like it's happening. And then, oh, by the way, Luka and Jimmy, yeah, that's happening. If they could find a way to make it in the conference finals, they would. Right. But I think it's like, all right, we're playing our hand too much that way. We'll take it in the second round, but get Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers, and Warriors.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see. But we continue on here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We'll return here to wrap things up. Keep it locked on Jocks 94.5. Welcome back into McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Probably the best intel we got came from Tom Luganbill. If you missed it yesterday, we're going to play it here as he describes just everything that went on with the Nico Iamaleava situation with Tennessee. And he even said it. He saw some signs early on. So let's get right to it. This is Tom Luganbill on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
You've been around it more than I have, covering recruiting the way that you do. When you have parents that think this way, it doesn't matter what's happened before them. I mean, there is no precedent that can be set to force them to behave correctly because
correct.
Their view of things is so contorted that it's not going to change. Tom, to follow up with what you're saying, this kid Hardley Gilmore was at Kentucky. Now he went to Nebraska. He's coming back to Kentucky. There's a kid at Memphis, running back Rashad Amos. He got there in January. He's leaving. He went in the portal yesterday. Yeah. There's an offensive lineman at Mississippi State, Jesse Rammel. He got there in December, former starter at JMU. He went the portal yesterday. Like, what are we doing? Yep. We can't give it 3 months?
You missed the biggest one of them all. The Cal Berkeley Bears in the last 72 hours have lost 5 running backs. Since December, if you include Fernando Mendoza, they lost 9 players off of their roster that had a minimum of 5 carries. 9 players. Now, you may say, well, what's going on? Well, this is what I see it is happening is you've got Justin Wilcox, who's done a really good job. That's a really difficult job at Cal. They have no money. They're completely broke. They've gone out. They've evaluated well. They've recruited well. And then they get a guy like Javion Thomas or Jade Knott at running back. And the competitors and all of the sharks that are circling in the transfer portal waters, they're looking at those guys and saying, hey, we could get those guys on the cheap. They're really good players, and we could get a great player and not have to invest very much money because we know Cal can't match it. And so now what's Cal supposed to do? I mean, this is a complete and utter insanity, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's wild to think about exactly kind of where it is, where we've gotten to, and that it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all.
No.
I just, for entertainment purposes, what did you see? And if you did, what was your response to the story with the Nico Iamaleava family member quoting that the real reason they did this was the dad, Nick, asking Josh Heupel if they were going to be committed to bolstering the offensive line and still recruiting wide receivers?
Absolute clownery and reflective of the entire process with that family, going back to when he was 16 years old. Cole, I've been on record. I've told a couple of people this the last couple of days. When he came out of high school, we thought he was a top 5 overall talent, regardless of position in the class, based off of physical attributes. We ranked him at 23 because I was scared to death that all of the things that were popping up, the red flags, the things that were materializing with him throughout the process, how he's handling the process, it was certainly going to spill over into the college ranks. It was only a matter of time. And recruiting's about weighing risk. And listen, Tennessee deserves some of the blame on this. There's no way throughout the process that they did not know what they were getting into. So they weighed the risk, and they were hoping that he either outgrow it, mature, develop, have his own identity, but it didn't work that way. And you know what? It didn't work that way when he was 15, 16 coming out either. And so sometimes you reap what you sow, and that's where some of the blame lies here with Tennessee. And it's a shame because the kid is gifted. He is talented. He was just a redshirt freshman last year. But there are so many variables and X factors in whether a guy sinks or swims, whether he makes it or doesn't make it, that has absolutely nothing to do with what his God-given ability is.
I heard an interview with you earlier this week, and you talked about we saw the signs. The warning signs were there. We saw this coming to an extent. Take us behind the scenes. What were some of the things that you saw that had you concerned that he would be able to live up to the recruiting number that you guys put on him?
Well, a couple of things. I think that first and foremost, we started getting an inkling that it was never about whether we were dealing with him at a camp and a combine circuit and he's out there amongst his peers. He was always kind of off to the side. He always wanted the focus to be the attention on him. But we never got the sense through the process that choosing a school was going to be about the best fit Where do I fit academically, socially, academically? Can I be away from home? Do I need to stay closer to home? What is going to be the offensive philosophy that can help me flourish and develop into an NFL potential level quarterback? It was always about what can I get? How can I garner the most out of this process, lead it into the college process, and come away with the most when it comes to either revenue, NIL production, all of those sorts of things. It never seemed to be about anything else. And I think when you start making those types of choices, you're probably going down the wrong path. Now, I say that with full understanding. There are a lot of people who are going to say, "Well, that's a get off my lawn mentality." I want guys to earn. I want every player to have NIL opportunities. I want them to take advantage of this window that they have. But the reality is, Tennessee rolled the dice and paid a guy a bunch of money who had not done a damn thing at the collegiate level, and now you're seeing the downside to that. And so there's got to be more substance to all of this. And when you don't see some more substance to it, there was an outing. I'll give you a prime example. This really bothered me. There was a 7-on-7 tournament when he was coming out. You can go on Google, you can go on YouTube, you can see it. And Nico is out there with sunglasses on at night and pajama pants. Playing in a 7-on-7 situation. I'm going, what are we doing here, man? And I said enough. I'm gonna dig my heels in on this one. And I think there are too many variables that are not on the positive side to help this young man. And I can't overrank him when we see what we see.
What do you know about UCLA if that's where he ends up, if that happens, if that works out, which there are kind of conflicting reports on how definitive that is right now. That doesn't look like there's another option, first and foremost. I don't know a ton about their roster. I don't know a ton about their recruiting. I don't know a ton about – I know they went and got Joey Aguilar from App State. I know they've lost a bunch of guys in the portal. Sturdivant was a guy I know they would have liked to have kept. But what can you even expect if he's the guy there on this team this fall?
Well, I'll go back to my tweet the day this story broke. And I talked about losing leverage. Now you're on the open market. You're going to have to reevaluate what your market value is if you're Nico and his camp. And the likelihood is now that wherever you end up, you're going to be on a roster that's got less personnel, is less talented overall, and not on as good of a football team. Now he's put himself in that position. So you've got UCLA, who under Deshaun Foster started off very poorly a year ago, but then rebounded and actually finished pretty strong. But they lost their running back, their top linebacker, their top receiver, their top tight end, all to the transfer portal. Their best offensive lineman a year ago was a walk-on. He left the program, right? So this is a rebuild in Westwood. And to me, that just puts more pressure on Nico if this thing goes pen to paper and it's inked. I don't think the numbers are anywhere near what he was expecting. I think the market is reset because of this decision he made, and it's a great message to everybody else involved. But this isn't a ready-made roster. And by the way, they were a bottom dweller in the Big Ten a year ago. And outside of 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten I didn't think was a great conference top to bottom. So now you've got more pressure on the young man. And it's interesting to me too, Cole, because UCLA has not shown any interest in diving headfirst into the NIL pool to be a national contender in college football. It's the entire reason Chip Kelly left the job. So now all of a sudden you decide to roll the dice here. And by the way, let's not forget, Nico could be a one-and-done guy. He only needs 1 year before he could be draft eligible. And on the advice he's been given so far with the decisions he's made, don't be surprised if he goes somewhere, he plays a year, and everybody's telling him, do not come out, and he comes out anyway.
Right. Okay, Tom Luganville joining us of ESPN, obviously recruiting expert, but covers college football games and UFL games as well. By the way, you see Noel Mazzoni going to be the OC in Memphis now?
Yeah, I think that's a good move. I talked to Noel in pregame the first week. You've got TJ Veneri who filled in. I had the first week game. TJ Veneri, the young receiver coach, was the play caller for the opening game. He did a nice job when Ken Wisenhunt had stepped down, but I was actually surprised that Noel Mazzoni wasn't the actual offensive coordinator at that point and wasn't maybe a candidate to be the head coach of Memphis going forward. But they've got an experienced guy. I think we all know that. He's coached a lot of football at a variety of places. He seems to be in a good place, and we'll see where Memphis goes from here. They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a big fan of Noel, so I'm excited for him to get that job. All right, before we let you run, what has happened already in the portal this cycle? Is there a guy, is there a team that you look at and say, yeah, my opinion on them is changing, either players they've lost or I'm more interested in players that have been gained? Like, whose opinion have you changed because of a guy or a couple of guys that they've gotten here over the last few days?
Well, if you look at both portal periods, not just the last few days, I would say that Oklahoma's been a winner. I think they've done a nice job with some of their additions. Now, Jay Knott, as talented as he is, he's got to prove he can stay healthy. And I think, that's a big component to the Sooners offense going forward. And it's no secret that Oklahoma has vastly missed the mark at the running back position in the last 2 to 3 recruiting cycles. So getting a guy like Jay Knott, I think that's a big pickup. It's important. We'll see as we continue to go down the stretch here. I'm very curious to see what happens with Bo Atkinson out of North Carolina. Now, that was not a transfer portal move because the kid isn't good enough. It was a move because they're going to be in a traditional true 3-4, and he can't play the 5 technique. He's an edge stand-up, wide 9 guy. That's why I think Ohio State, Georgia, very, very interested in him because he's very productive in that role. That wouldn't have been his role at North Carolina. So I think he's a guy that could be highly coveted across the board. And then the other guy, and I love how Fran Brown at Syracuse handled this, and he's 100% correct, is you got, Trevor Pena at Syracuse, who is a really good player, caught 84 passes a year ago. He's essentially a bigger, faster version of Xavier Restrepo at Miami. I would be shocked if Miami doesn't go and get him and replace Restrepo with virtually a bigger, faster version of one of the most productive players in the last 2 to 3 years at receiver in college football. So I'm interested to see where that one goes. But listen, there's over 3,600 and counting of these kids that have gone in the 24-25 cycle, and nobody's doing the math, Cole. There's not enough scholarships, and whoever the representation is of these kids and their families, most of them are not accredited, they're not certified, and they're giving bad advice. And so before you jump into that portal, unless you've been tampered with, unless you have a deal in writing that you can directly point to, you better be real careful about what you do because you're either going to transfer down or you're going to end up without a scholarship, and that's a damn shame.
Man, we appreciate Tom Luganbill. He gives us the full details, man. This Nico Iamaleava situation started really early. It's been about that money. Appreciate y'all. Have a great Good Friday. And 3-Man Front is coming up next.